Okay. Peace and blessings. Why are you showing up? You're not supposed to be here yet. Okay. Peace and blessings and namaste to all light warriors, workers, and everything in between. It is I, Sophie, today. And boy, do I have a special guest for you. Many of you, especially if you're on my website, if you hear me talk a lot, you know that I often reference my elder. And I have finally got him to agree to come on the show and actually present what he knows about the divine feminine, the culture behind it, the religion behind it. He's a scholar in his own right. He's been in this truth for a very, very long time in etymology, history, science, religious, metaphysics, spirits, like he is my elder. And I am very, very excited to hear from him. He was very instrumental and sending me on my journey, my path to find out who I was and to actually walk into that fine divine feminine energy that I am currently in. So without further ado, I would like to bring forth my elder, Kohen Azzur.
Thank you very much, Sophie.
Peace and blessings. So, Elder, we're excited to have you here. The first thing that I'm going to ask you is to give us a little bit of background about you and what you're about and what you've been doing for the community.
All right. I started my journey about 40 years ago. Okay. I'm a Southern man. You know, my family is from Mississippi. And while I lived on the farm, the 80 acres that they gave my family after slavery, the females in my family had an oral tradition that they would pass on. And then my grandfather, he was linked into it also. And they used to always talk about our culture, but I didn't understand that it was relating to Hebrewisms. We lived it out. And actually, when I got sent to Chicago from Mississippi, Greenview, that's when I really began to pick up that it was Hebrewisms that they were teaching us: the marital right, no dating. We had to leave the house through marriage. A lot of the foods that we ate, all of those things pointed towards Hebrewisms. And so when I came up to Chicago, there were more libraries for me to research, and I began to research it because I wondered why our people were treated differently from everyone else, and we were such a peace-loving people. And every rock that I turned over, it pointed me into that same direction. And so I spent days, hours in libraries, and then I graduated from libraries to museums. Now I'm walking alone, mind you, by myself. And then after I got with the Nation of Yahweh and got my formal education as a priest, that's when I began to be pushed into finding out what my mission was. And in doing so, it made me look at what most of us call the Bible with a deeper understanding. I was grasping this, not that surface teaching. I'm not a religious person by any means. And anybody who has walked with me and I've been a guide to, they will tell you that I don't teach religion. I don't. That is that's our worst enemy. So in looking at the Bible, I kept seeing man this, man that, and I never saw the woman being mentioned. And what that did was it depicted that there was no balance in what was in the Bible. So I started looking deeper into the translations. And what I found out is that the book had been stepped on as about 5 times. And when I say stepped on, I'm talking about recanonized. Books moved around, chapters taken out, prophecies altered. You have a lot of people that come from my side of town, and I'm talking about Hebrews that will swear on a stack of Bibles that the Old Testament has not been tampered with. But I'm here to tell you that every sacred book in existence has been redacted, has been tampered with, especially the Bible, because that is the main source that the powers that be use to cripple our people. So once I start seeing how it had been translated, I also learned how they remove things with each translation, like the Septuagint, for example. They remove books. Now, these are the Greeks. This is their version, which the people of the book fought them for like 500 years to stop them from doing that, but to no avail. And they recanonized the book, rearranged it, took books out, and that was their book. But here comes their brothers. The Roman Empire, they created what is called the Latin Vulgate, and they did the same thing. They recanonized the book from its original order. And then they removed chapters and verses out of the book. And after them, it was the Masoretes. They created what is called Biblical Hebrew, Paleo Hebrew, and Aramaic and Arabic. These are made up languages that the Masoretes, along with their brethren, created. It took them about 600 years to do it. Nevertheless, it was done. And now we have their version. Okay. And then finally, you're looking, after the Masoretes, you're looking at the Catholic Church. They didn't just remove books and prophecies, they actually created a new book. And that new book, of course, we all know is called the New Testament. So what I found out is that all of these versions were misogynist. They were misogynistic in nature. There was never a mention of the woman. She was always put down. So I started looking deeper into the ancient tablets, the ancient scrolls, and I found out that everything was matriarchal. But what really woke me up was when I looked into the Bible that is being pushed as a patriarchal book. It's entirely matriarchal from the very beginning. And I can give you an example. I don't know if many of you are familiar with this statement, but after the creation of the first Adam, he was taught what marriage was. And he made a statement that was approved by his creator. He said, "This is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and his father's house and cling to the woman." Well, what a lot of people don't understand is that is called matrilocal. This is a part of matriarchal culture whereby a man marries a woman and he leaves his parents and goes and live with the family of the woman. You will find that there are so many examples of matriarchal civilizations in the scripture that it is pathetic. What they did was that they changed the bloodlines to say that men carry the bloodline, and they don't. It is the woman who carries the bloodline. When you use a man's DNA or what have you to trace bloodlines, he can only go back so far. But you can take any woman on this planet and do a DNA trace and take her, and any woman will take you right back to the first woman. This is because of the divine feminine. Okay. And so that's how I woke up to the divine feminine. I started looking for it genetically. I started looking for it historically and antiquity-wise, because you got to understand that history is only 15,000 years old, and it's made up to hide everything about the divine feminine. As we're going to get into that a little bit later. But that's how I woke up to all of this. I couldn't understand why every holy textbook, with the exception of probably the Cometians, okay, they're in India, and they're all the same gods, by the way. The Kemetic and the Hindu are more obvious with the way that they express the divine feminine.
Mhm.
But once you get into Islam, Christianity, Hebrewisms, and I hate to say that, but my people are lost when it comes to the divine feminine.
Right.
Okay, they're really lost. And when I say my people, I'm a Hebrew Israelite priest, and I'm ashamed of some of the brothers in our culture, but that's going to be dealt with, especially if I
Mm.
have anything to do with it. Now, let me give you a little history about myself. As I
Okay.
said, as I said before, I've been walking in this way of life for 40 years. Um, I've written about 15 books, 5 of them, well, actually 20. But I held back until this latter day to start releasing these books because they're very controversial. I'm talking about the divine feminine. I'm going against what a lot of scholars write in many of these books. I do touch on metaphysics, but not the way in these 20 books that I'm talking about. Because see, not the way the average person do. So after I spent time, 7 years writing those books, I then began to look for the divine feminine on the planet. And I found it in Africa. It was here in America, but it wasn't flourishing like it is in Africa. So I'm in Africa and I work in Ghana, I work in Senegal, Guinea, and Liberia. My headquarters is in Liberia. We have purchased land over there. We're going to be building over there, but I'm actually training some females now in the divine feminine and of course the Hebrew culture, but not in the way your average Hebrew does it. And so that brings me to the current times. I'm really laid back and I don't like to take credit. So you know that Sophie had to twist my arm to get me to come on this program
I did.
because I fought with her. Okay, but it is something I'm so proud of the way that she's out here putting the divine feminine out here because if the divine feminine does not spread across this earth, we're going to be in big trouble with the changes that are about to occur on the earth, especially masculine energy.
Mm. Right.
Okay,
Right.
because we have been hoodwinked. All right, we don't have a clue as to how things should be written. And where do you want me to go from here?
I want you to break down that Ezer Kenegdo, how you found out what it actually meant, what it stood for. I talk about it on my channel, but I would love for you to talk about it as well.
All right. Well, the first thing they did was they used English and Masoretic text to hide who Ezer Kenegdo is. So in doing so, they took the original Hebrew is what they call the Ugaritic text. It's a cuneiform like text. This is the Hebrew that Abraham spoke. Remember, Abraham left Ur of the Chaldees, which is Uruk or Urim, in Sumer.
Right.
Sumer is the biblical Shinar. When Abraham left, he didn't speak Hebrew. Hebrew
Right.
is an African language. And if you speak to Africans, they will correct you and say that's not our language. That
Mm.
most people speak today and call it Hebrew. That's why they say the way they hide Hebrew is they say Afro-Asiatic. That's
Right.
another term for the Shemitic languages. 80% of the languages spoken in Africa are Shemitic because we gave it to them. Okay, so when I looked at the language and saw that there are 22 alphabets, something's wrong with this language. And then when I kept researching and I bumped into the Ugaritic text in the northern parts of what they call uh, Israel, Canaan, I saw that this is the original language that Abraham spoke. Okay, which had 30 alphabets, not 22.
Mm.
That's okay. So in doing that, I went back to the Bible and I started going from English back to Hebrew to see what the Hebrew thought was. And I was looking one day at the woman, and I said, there got to be more said about the creation of the woman than what I'm reading. So I was in the second chapter of Genesis, and I went back and I looked at this term that they call helpmate, which calls women to have a repressed thinking. Their thinking is repressed with terms like helpmate. When I looked up that phrase, that English phrase, I got the term Ezer Kenegdo. So I broke the term down and I looked up Ezer first. And I was amazed at what I found.
Tell it.
Okay. With Ezer, I found that this word does not mean help in the way in which they translated it in English. And again, I'm going to say this for the listening audience, that any sacred text that's written today, you have to read it with a grain of salt because it's been redacted. They will never publish anything, the powers that be. As long as they're in an authoritative position, they will never publish anything with absolute truth. So we're the ones who can bust their codes and the codes of our ancestors, the gods. So with Ezer Kenegdo, I found that this term meant this was a being that was designed to protect the man, to cover him, and to stand, okay, and check him. She was designed to correct him. Now, this is just one part of the word. As I began to do research further on the word, I found out that the word Ezer had two roots instead of one. It had Ayin and Gayin. Gayin said that the woman was not only a help that would surround him and keep him from his evil self. Because in the scripture, when the God of creation...
You froze. Uh-oh, Elder, you're frozen.
And
okay.
I say that very loosely because the word Yahweh and the word LC. Okay, I'm back. I was talking about the creator and how the word Yahweh and the word Elohim, they're feminine words originally. And I'm going to get into later how they became masculine. Many of you may already know this, but I'm gonna be repetitive with saying how these words became masculine. However, the word Ezer had two roots, Ayin and Gayin. And when I looked up Gayin, oh my God, it added more strength to the woman in regards to checking the man boldly. Now, how many women do you know that will speak with such authority and power over a man? The thinking of the woman has been repressed so much. You'll be surprised. Even a lot of women that know about the divine feminine, they have reserve about checking a man hard, okay, and putting him in his place. Because according to the word Gayin, it says that she boldly stands in front of him, checking him, putting him in his place, and keeping him from his wicked self. That is why his creator said, it's not good that the man be alone. I will make a Ezer Kenegdo for him. Okay, now this word Ezer is only used, 21 times in the scriptures. 2 of the times is used with the woman. The other 19 times is used with the creator himself in the same fashion that is used with the woman. The word is not diminished just because Ezer is used with the woman. What it shows is that the woman has more divinity than the man does. When you get into the codes and how the words are written, the vernacular of the Hebrews, that's when you find out that, oh my God, this is crazy. How could they keep something like this from us? And I haven't even gotten on the second word in Kenegdo. Okay.
Right.
Ezer is a divine power that rules and governs the man. okay, and keeps him from his evil self. Because you got to remember, he's not made in the image of the creator. He's made in the image of the woman. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later too. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Let's
We
go.
really, that's why I'm saying masculine energy, if they can't wake up, we're going to be in big trouble.
Right.
Okay. Because what's getting ready to happen is the whole planet is getting ready to go to a higher state. And you can't get there if you can't accept reality.
Right.
The reality of what the true nature of the woman is and how it's been polluted. Okay, so when we get to Kenegdo, this is another word that means power, a power to lead. The word Kenegdo means power to lead, to govern over, to rule over, to guide. Okay, so you're putting these two words together, and I'm like, oh my God. So we've been led, and I'm going to tell you something. I went to Africa back in 1986. I went to Ghana. I was in Kumasi. And the thing that amazed me, I thought that I was not a religious thinking person until I got over there in Kumasi. And I realized I'm looking at all Black people in power. I was looking for a white person to be in power. And that's when I found out how religious my thinking was. Okay. And most of your, what they call religious textbooks are not religious books at all. They're historical books and they're books on science. Okay. But you can't see that with a religious mindset. You can't, because religion puts you in a box and it stops you from seeing the reality. It stops your psyche from being able to see the reality and digest it and move forward in life. Okay, so when he created Ezer Kenegdo, it was because the man was corrupt. He had already violated a prime directive that he was given. He had already violated. And so when the creator looked upon that, he said, I have to make him an Ezer Kenegdo to keep him in check, not because he was lonely.
Right.
If you're going to read that, the second chapter in the proper context, now this is a chapter that stumped me out of my drunken stupor. If you're going to read that second chapter appropriately, it has nothing to do with loneliness. Okay, he's talking about the evil that is within man, and because we look at the book as a religious textbook, we can't understand that. We don't go back and look at the word qual or the different terminologies that they'll have next to the word when we define it, because it tells you how the word is being used. It tells you if the person is angry. It tells you if it's a metaphor or a simile according to the vernacular of that race. Okay, and a lot of people, when they get into these languages, they don't stop to break their codes. They don't. And so in the second chapter, that wasn't the only thing that stumped me. I had a sister of mine that had surgery, and I went with her from the beginning to the end of that surgery. And I myself, when I was 62, I had surgery to close a hernia, and we're going to talk a little bit about that too.
Okay.
Because it relates to the divine feminine. Okay, so when my sister went to the hospital, I was there every step with her. And when the anesthesiologist, well, first she had a surgical nurse that talked to her and gave her the 411. Then the anesthesiologist came in there and he broke it down. Okay, do you have this high blood pressure, diabetes, all this? If some of these things will not allow us to perform surgery on you. And then he told her how he was going to anesthetize her and everything. And then the doctor came in. Okay, so I'm listening to all of this stuff. So when I read Genesis, I said, wait a minute, this sounds like what they did to my sister. I'm talking about the part where it says they took a rib from him. That is a primitive mindset trying to understand advanced surgery and gene manipulation. You'll be surprised how many scientific facts that we have in the scriptures that the average person will read right by. Okay, what was being explained, and I learned this from the ancestors to the Hebrews, the Sumerians, they broke it down. Okay, what was happening in Genesis with first Adam is that when they first created him, he only had 42 chromosomes because he was a hybrid, much like the what mule and the ass. Okay,
You broke up a little bit, so I did not get that
so
last
what
portion.
happened was in the creation of our I'm
Elder?
afraid you have to. Where did I stop off at? Yeah, can you hear me?
The last thing that I heard you very clearly was when you were dealing with the hybrid. You said
Oh,
that the original, they were hybrids, and then you kind of got fuzzy.
yeah. The first Adam, when they finally perfected him after 50,000 years, there was three of them that was involved in it. There were three gods. I'm sorry, two gods and one goddess. The two gods failed after 50,000 years, so they called in the goddess who was originally asked to create our species. When she came in, she looked at the CDs and she started telling them, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. And she perfected the formula. They were gene splicing. So when they finally perfected Adam and created something very near their image and their likeness that could handle the technology, because contrary to popular belief, we were never primitive people. The civilizations that we were born in were more advanced than the one we live in right now today. That's why the new being had to be created in the image and the likeness of the deities that were here on the earth. And so when they finally perfected him, he was missing uh, two chromosomes. Okay, instead of 43, I'm sorry, he had 42 chromosomes. And okay, and he needed to have 43 in order to procreate. So in the second chapter of Genesis, they anesthetized him, and you can go back and read it. They performed a surgery and they removed his bone marrow
Right.
and took the X chromosome, the double X chromosome for the female, and the XY chromosome for the male, and placed it in them, and they were able to procreate. This is what's happening in the second chapter of Genesis. But when you view it with a religious mindset, you will never see it. You have to step out of religion. Look at the book as a scientific book and a historical book. All of your sacred texts, stop looking at them as religious textbooks, because the deities that created us did not create them as religion. Man did. Okay. So that's when I really, really woke up. Learning about Ezer Kenegdo in that chapter, looking at the science that's going on in that chapter, it took me to a whole new level. It really did. And it gave me, I was raised in a matriarchal family. So I already had respect for the woman. At least I thought I did, until I started discovering some of these truths that exist in artifacts, ancient antiquity, the Bible, even the Quran, Egyptology, Hinduism. It was stunning. I mean, the information that I found out and how it moved me to do more research on the divine feminine, because I said that this is not the work of the original writers of these sacred texts. And once I realized that, I started reading with that mentality that I'm taking everything with a grain of salt. And I'm going to cross reference, because they're not going to give you the whole truth.
Right.
At all. No, have to cross reference what you read, because each one of them are going to give you a little bit more truth than the one before. The second
Right.
one is still going to lie, but he's going to cover a truth that the first one didn't. And that's how you put the picture together, because they cannot, you know, I hear Sophie saying this. They're not, it's not in them to break the code. And she's absolutely right. It's not in them. They cannot break those codes that our ancestors left for us. We have to do that. That's
Right.
why I used to be knee deep in her butt saying, "You need to write a book." I forced her to write her first book. I really did.
You did.
Okay.
That's true.
So all of us need to do it. There are many of you in the audience today sitting on your butts that should be writing a book with the knowledge that you have. You
I'm so
have
tired
that.
of saying that. I don't know what to do with myself. I say this almost every single video that we are needing to be creators, during this time, writing our books, decoding all of this but according to a lot of people, see, I'm just a Jezebel. I'm a Jezebel. I'm a witch.
Wait. Jezebel was a serious priestess and queen. She did
Oh, I know.
no evil. She was okay. She was framed. She was a very honorable, upright female. If I was a woman and someone called me a Jezebel, I would be proud.
Oh, it doesn't
Because
bother me.
I know. See, that's ignorance speaking. When someone calls, and men got that real bad. Our men, you're a Jezebel. And I would say, thank you very much, because Jezebel stood up to Yahweh and beat the snot out of Elijah. She did. She made him run crying to Yahweh, and Yahweh removed him and raised up Elisha. And I'm not going to tell you what Yahweh did to Elijah. That's a story for a different day. Okay, but don't let that. I laugh when I hear that term, because the person that's using it don't know what they're talking about. Because Jezebel stood up for the divine feminine.
That's right.
All through, and you're going to see the divine feminine. Wow. Wait till you find out what the scriptures say about Israel and how they worship the divine feminine. Okay. And if you want to redirect me, you can, but you want me to tap on the divine feminine and start going into that?
Keep going. The floor is yours. I'm
All
listening.
All right. I want to start off, for those of you who really, really want to get to know the divine feminine, you have to get into what is called the Enuma Elish. The English term, that's a Sumerian term. The English term is the 7 tablets of creation. Because in the first maybe 12 lines is seriously power packed in that. Okay. These 7 tablets, they get into the creation story that what Moses borrowed and put in Genesis. But unless you go into Hebrew, you will not see some of these terms. And even the Hebrew speaks it differently, but the same term. Okay. So in the Enuma Elish, it starts off telling you that there's a self-existing intelligence. It's self-existing. Right. This intelligence is called Nama or Namu. Your recent scholars, the Johnny-come-latelys, they use the term Tiamat. That's incorrect. That's the Earth's original name. The true term for the divine feminine is Nama. She was self-existing. So what she did was she turned around, and she's what you call a primordial. The deities that most of us will call gods, they were designed so that we would not worship the primordial deities. They don't require worship. They created lesser deities for us to worship and pattern ourselves after. Okay, and so what happens is that Nama created these 3 other primordials, and you're going to find this in most of the pantheons of your major religions, like the Egyptian pantheon, the Sumerian, and the Hindu. These are your 3 major so-called religions, and all of those gods are the same. They just have different names. Okay. Right. So when she created these 3 other primordials, one of them is called the Apsu. The other one is called Mamu, and the other one is called Kingu. The Apsu, these 3 primordials make up the universe. Okay. So what Nama did was um, the Apsu is 72% of the universe, and that's called dark energy today. This is what your science call this primordial that Nama created. Okay, um, Mamu is the other primordial, and that's called dark matter. That is 23% of the universe. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm listening.
Um, the third primordial that she created is called Kingu. Kingu represents 5% of the universe, and that's called baryonic matter. That's what we are made of. And everything else in the universe is made of baryonic matter. So when you're looking at television, anything that's created in the universe is not going to move too far from the way we look.
Okay.
Okay, because it's made from the same matter. Okay, and so these three primordials made up the universe. But listen, what Nama did, she had a universe or a dimension that she had created before the universe. The deities that we worship, they were in that realm. She brought them out of that realm and placed
Okay.
them in our solar system. These are light beings. Okay, don't let nobody fool you and make you, because see, the powers that be, they are trying to get us to fight these beings when they come back. And they're here, and that's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. These are light
Right.
beings, and there's so much proof out there to show you. So, what she did was she created these beings, and she brought them out of a different dimension. The dimension is called Andoruna, and placed them in our universe. And she put them in the Milky Way galaxy. They on the 10th planet, or this was actually the first planet in our solar system to get its orbit. That's why it has an elongated orbit of 3,600 years. These are the beings that created us. When
Okay.
we see them, we got to understand that they're light beings. Okay, so when Nama created the universe, it's all feminine because it's a womb. It's just a great womb. This is how you know that the origin of all things had to be feminine. Okay, because when you look at the universe, it functions just like a womb. There's no difference in the way the universe functions than the way a womb functions. It's just on a much broader level, and we're on a lower level. Our frequency is not as high as the frequency of the universe. Okay, and mind you, this is still dealing with melanin. Dark
Okay.
matter is what everything sits in the universe, what your baryonic matter sits in. Dark energy is the creative force of the universe that moves on everything, that takes a sun and makes it go from a living sun to a dying one, and then it becomes nebula, and then it reforms into a sun again. That's what
Okay.
dark energy does. That's why we have a hole in the center of all galaxies, because when Nama wants to bring about change, she'll shoot energy through that core that'll start bringing about changes in that galaxy. Okay,
Okay.
and that's what she does. So uh, this divine feminine is in everything in existence. Okay, and I want to start with the earth. Okay, how do we know that the divine feminine is in the earth? All right, up until 7,000 years ago, there was no such thing as a male god or his priest.
Oh
This
wow.
all there was nowhere on this planet. This is what history does to you. Okay, no male god nowhere, and you can stand in front of any scholar that has been trained by any of these institutions and tell them I'm talking about prehistoric times, because see, when they say history, they're talking about what they fabricate. But when you go into antiquity or prehistoric times, the scholar will know, okay, this person know what they're talking about. So they're not going to argue with you too quickly. They want to see how much knowledge you have. Okay, so when you talk about going into prehistoric times, there were only the mother goddess all over the earth, all over the earth, in Europe, in Africa, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Iraq, Iran, nothing. And the mother goddess is the primordial goddess Nama.
Okay.
Now, I'm talking about the life forms that were on this planet before we were created. They knew who the divine feminine was, and they created statuettes all over this planet. The ones with the big breasts, and she's holding her breasts like this, and she's got huge hips. That deals with fecundity. That means that she brings forth life.
Okay.
Her breast is the power to sustain life. That's what these statues are saying. Okay. And I'm telling you, on the little bit that I told you now, if you say that to a scholar, they will be slow to argue with you. Okay. Because this is wide scale. Okay. So this is showing you that even before the gods created us, the mother goddess or the divine feminine was already on the earth with the Bigfoot-like creature that was on the earth at that time.
Right. Lulu?
Okay. Well, the Lulu Amelu is actually Adam.
Gotcha.
Before the Lulu Amelu. That's who they were splicing our genes with. Okay. That Bigfoot-like creature. That's why white people know that Bigfoot exists. But he's
not monkeys. Not monkeys, right?
No. It was not.
Thank you. I've been trying to clarify that. Not monkeys. Okay, keep going.
And you got to understand that Bigfoot is a highly intelligent being. He came with the planet just like what we call Satan did. Satan came, he's a part of the evolution of this planet. But when they created us, he was the ruling class of this planet. Bigfoot always stayed in the shadows. He just wanted to be, that species just wanted to be free and evolve. But Satan became the ruling. Satan was actually back here with the dinosaurs before the split of the earth happened. Okay. Satan was on the planet. I hate calling him Satan. You know, I'm gonna say Nakat. I'm gonna use his real name, Nakat.
Right.
His species was already on the planet, and he had a problem with us because after the second Adam was created, we were highly advanced, even more so than the first Adam.
Right.
And so the earth, about what? After we were created, the second Adam, about what? 100,000 years after that, the planet was given to us. And that's why it says that in Genesis. Okay, but the mother goddess was all over the earth being worshipped even before we were created. Okay, no male god that's all powerful with a male prophet. This was all done. I'm going to get into it a little later because I want to get into the divine feminine. I mean, the sacred feminine, which is different from the divine feminine.
Right.
The mother goddess was here reminding us that the creatrix of all was feminine energy, divine feminine energy. Okay. And so how that was maintained upon the earth before the gods that created us, it was done by priestesses and shamans. The original shaman was not a man, it was all female. These male shamans came with the destruction of matriarchy. Okay, when matriarchy existed all over the earth, there was peace, advanced civilizations, egalitarian civilizations where men were treated equally to women, but women stayed in power to keep men in check. Okay. Their civilizations did not have pestilence, disease. There was no greed. There was no jealousy wanting someone else's possessions instead of having your own. There was no, I need to conquer these people because it'll make me powerful.
Right.
Divine feminine energy does not function that way. Divine feminine energy functions in a manner that advances life. That's why we need it back on the earth so desperately. Now, the sacred feminine were the priestess that sustained the divine feminine. And the difference with the sacred feminine is that they embody the divine feminine. And what I mean when I say embody, it's not like the way the male God is with his priest and his prophet. First of all, the sacred feminine only needs a priestess. There's no prophet, because she embodies the divine feminine and whatever goddess that is on the earth. So she doesn't even have to. When matriarchy was in existence on the planet, the sacred feminine didn't even have to talk to the goddess. She can act on her own accord, and it would be in line with the goddess. Not so with male priests and prophets. First of all, the priest is the one who the people complain to, and then the priestess, because there were priestesses too, contrary to popular belief. The priest would go to the God and say, this is the complaint of the people. The God would respond with the prophet. The prophet goes back to the people and talk to them. Not so with the divine feminine or the sacred feminine. I hope you can see that I'm inferring that women have more divinity than men. This is an out and out truth that it's on a genetic level, it's on a physical level. Mother Earth. Okay, where did that term come from? Okay, Mother Africa. All these mother terms come from the divine feminine.
Mother Russia too.
Huh?
Mother Russia.
Exactly. From the divine feminine functions on the earth as the sacred feminine. Okay. And these matriarchal civilizations, they just kept the earth balanced. And men were happy. There was no male pattern baldness. Go back and look at those pictures. You're going to see men with flowing hair and braids. Today, male pattern baldness, because we are stressed out with mundane things instead of studying in a manner that perpetuates life. Okay. In the early matriarchal civilizations, mankind lifespan was longer too. Okay, so there's biblical proof of matriarchy throughout the Bible, and I gave you an example of matrilocal in Genesis. I want to talk about how it exists in other areas of the Bible. Like, let's take Abraham. He's supposed to be a patriarch, so to say. Not true. Sarah was a matriarch, and she was a high priestess. Abraham was a high priestess, but Sarah's standing was more powerful than Abraham. That's why he married her. Okay. Sarah was Abraham's master. And how do we know that? Because she was his sister. In a matriarchal civilization, you can marry your sister as long as she's from a different mother. His father, Terah, married two priestesses, and Sarah was with one, Abraham was with the other. Okay? And so this is how you know that the biblical people were patriarchal by design. Okay? You have Sarah marrying Abraham is a primary example. Not just that, Isaac marrying his relative also. When Isaac married Rebekah, Rebekah was a family member. She was a family member to Isaac. And the same thing with Jacob. Also, what you're going to find in a matriarchal civilization is that the youngest boy get the birthright. This is all through the Bible. Abraham fought with Yahweh so that Ishmael could get the birthright, and Yahweh said, it ain't happening. Shut up. You better do everything that Sarah told you to do, because that birthright is going to go to Isaac. Isaac was the youngest son. That's what happens in matriarchy. The same thing with Jacob and Esau. When Jacob was born, Esau was the oldest son. Jacob got the birthright. Jacob got the birthright. This is matriarchal. Again, the divine feminine in at work. The same thing with Jacob. The same thing with Jacob. He gave the birthright to who? Joseph. Joseph got the birth. This is matriarchal. Let's go down the line a little bit further. Look at David. Okay, David had a daughter named Tamar. She was fine. He had a son named Amnon. Amnon fell in lust for Tamar. So Joab, this is why Solomon killed Joab. Joab told Amnon, fake illness, and go to David and tell David to allow Tamar to nurse you back to health. Well, guess what? Tamar started nursing him. He raped her. But before he raped her, Tamar said something that was very strange for a patriarchal civilization. She said, "What are you doing?" She said, "This is folly, and you're reaping folly in Israel. All you got to do is go to David, our father, and he will surely bless our marriage." What? David will bless his son's marriage to his marriage to his daughter? Again, this is matriarchy, and it's the divine feminine in the world at that time that they're trying to hide from us and suppress. Only in matriarchal civilizations can you marry your sister like that. And what is this? The king of Israel condoned it. Okay, this is just one biblical proof after another one. Let me give you another proof that they brought from Sumer. Israel brought from Sumer. And I have to speak about matriarchy because that is a reflection of the divine feminine here on our level. Okay, so Israel as a nation, when the Israelites, before they became Israelites, they were called Adapites in Sumer. Okay, as Adapites, none of the states or countries in that region could a king ascend to the throne without the permission of a priestess. He couldn't ascend to the throne. Okay, he had to either be condoned by her and she married him to another priestess, or she herself married him. And this is from the Into priestesshood. And because if he ascended to the throne without the permission of a priestess, nobody would want him to rule over them because he was not blessed by a goddess. Remember what I told y'all. The priestess embodies the goddess. She acts on her own accord. She doesn't have to go back and say, okay, and then her side, can I do this? That's not the way the divine feminine works. Because of the amount of divinity that's in the woman, we don't have to worry about her being bribed and all this criminal activity that you see in governments all over the world and in the church.
Right.
It's systemic. You don't get that with the divine feminine. Okay, so what happened is that Israel brought that same cultural aspect into the land of Canaan. However, the translators of our sacred text said that we're going to call her a Gavira. And you can check it. This is what got Saul into trouble with Yahweh. He said that he didn't want to be matriarchal, and he tried to rule in a patriarchal, and it divided Israel. When you look at the kings of Israel, every last one of them did not have a priestess to rule with them. But when you look at Judah, who was the ruling tribe, every king that sat on that throne had a Gavira. Now, I'm going to ask a question that's rhetorical. Do you think that a queen sitting on the throne would allow women to be viewed as chattel property and less than human like the Bible tries to portray?
That is a rhetorical question because you already know the answer to that.
Exactly.
Of course not. Yes. Go ahead.
And Gavira had the power to take heads. This, again, is the divine feminine all over the earth at the time. I'm talking about you can go back 500,000 years and you're going to see the divine feminine supported by the sacred feminine. Okay. Now, what happened? How did we get to where we are today?
Good question.
Well, okay.
Uh-oh, you froze a bit.
There was a
Elder?
destruction of the matriarchal civilizations all over the earth. Okay, I'm back.
You're back.
I froze for a minute. What I was saying is that there was a destruction of the matriarchal civilizations all over the earth. Okay, and it started with what they call Aryans or Indo-Europeans. These are the Europeans that come from the Eurasian steppes. This is in Russia, but it's right above the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea.
Okay.
This was a savage-like people, barbaric in every means, disease-riddled, swooping down out of the Eurasian steppes into the Middle East, destroying. See, matriarchal civilizations do not make weapons. This is why their civilizations were so advanced. They're peace-loving people. You can advance yourself when peace exists on the earth much faster than you can with an androcentric government that's governed by misogynistic males. Okay, so they swoop down into the Middle East and start destroying, wiping out matriarchal civilizations. Because remember now, I ain't naming no names, but there's a certain race on this planet that judges their advancement by their weaponry. That's why you have the Stone Age. The Stone Age was the first weapon that they made. They picked up a rock and they clocked somebody. This is how they hunted for their food. The next weapon that they created, it was during the Iron Age.
Okay.
Now, during the Iron Age, that's a slow way of making weapons, so they didn't come out that much. But once they got to the Bronze Age, that's when they hit the whole planet, destroying every matriarchal civilization that existed, tearing down the artifacts, the statues of them. Even the Greeks kept doing it. Artemis, Diana, all of these are offshoots of the divine goddess that existed, those goddess statuettes that existed in antiquity, before history. So once they got to the Bronze Age, around 6,000 years ago, that means that they started wiping out everything and rewriting history.
Mm-hmm.
That's why if you want to do research, go beyond 6,000 years, and you're going to start seeing the matriarchy and the mother goddess, which is the primordial Nama. Okay? This is the most ancient text. Okay, this Sumerian text, the 7 tablets of creation, when you read them, let me give you a note on that, because when you read them, they're going to be different ones that were written. You're going to have ones that came from Nippur, Babylon, Assyria, Elam, and Sumer. The Sumerian one is the most correct, and it's got more facts in it. The other ones, what you're going to see is that whatever the god was of Nippur, that's going to be the god of creation. When you go to Babylon, it's going to be Marduk or Ra. Okay, that was the god of Babylon. Okay, he's the most noteworthy person that kills. Now I want you to get this: that kills divine feminine energy. How can? Okay, first of all, these gods are not even primordials, and not even a primordial can kill Nama. Nama is never gonna. The divine feminine is never gonna reduce herself to less than what she is. She creates things to do that, those menial jobs for her. Okay, and I'm calling her, but this is not some goddess with a body or something like that. This is the divine feminine energy. that exist in all things. So these matriarchal civilizations start going into the Middle East first, and then they start traveling west. They got to Africa. Okay, from Africa they did Israel, Turkey, Syria, and they kept going west. Came to South America, North America, uh, Europe, uh, what they call Alaska, and destroy the divine feminine. Okay, for those, this history of them destroying matriarchal civilizations is written in the book of Revelations and in the book of Daniel. These are the beasts that these men are talking about that's rising out of these waters. When you get down to it, that's telling you how the Aryan or the Indo-Europeans spread out across the earth, destroying matriarchal civilizations, wiping them out mercilessly. A savage-like people, supplanting the goddess with a male god, this all-powerful male god and his priests. Okay, that's what they did all over
Hello?
the earth. And once they rewrote that history, their descendants, in their primitive way, their descendants polished it up and made sure that if you're stuck in religion, you will never find these things out. And I'm not going into great detail, but I'm giving you enough, and I'm saying things so that you can do research. You can use words. The mother goddess. You can look up Nama, and you can find these things out that the earth was actually all feminine, ran by feminine power,
Right.
completely, not See, patriarchy is non-existent. There's no such thing as patriarchy. And the reason I say that, they named a system of destruction and war patriarchy.
Wow.
There's no such thing as patriarchy. They had to copy the divine feminine. But when you look at what is called patriarchy, all it does is create war and kill. This is what they called it from ancient times. They say we need to name this something. Well, let's say it's patriarchy after matriarchy. Okay, because um, they didn't want us to just see that it was a war, it was a system of destruction based on weapons of war. Matriarchal civilizations did not create weapons of war like that. You can't, they hunted and did stuff like that. And then it got to us. We were a peaceful people too, highly advanced, but very, very, very peaceful. That's why they had to stop us in Genesis. Well, one of the gods that ruled over us, that's called Yahweh in the Bible, he looked down upon the earth at us, and he saw us building what the powers that be called the Tower of Babel.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that it's called the Tower of Babel because it's where they confuse the language. That there could be nothing further from the truth. That's not what that was called. In fact, the word for Babylon is an Assyrian word, and it's called Babili. And Babili means gateway to the gods, because
Right.
that's what we were doing. We were building a gateway into the universe. That city back then was a whole city designed with flying cars, spaceships, mother planes that could go into space. This is how advanced our ancestors were. And so the God that saw it, he got afraid. And he said, hey, he went to the council and he said, listen, we got to stop this. Look at what they're doing. If we do not stop them, there will be nothing that they cannot do. You know why he said that? Because we are their children. See, what they don't want you to understand is that we were genetically engineered, but we were born in the womb of a goddess. And I don't know if you all understand what that means. That means that once a goddess gave us birth, we had the same birthright that they have. That's
Right.
why we were born giants. We have to become gods. That is a part of our evolution. We're the only ones standing in the way from us becoming gods and goddesses, because that's our birthright. They stopped us when they saw that how fast we were moving. So they had to stop us and slow us down. They shut down some of our glands so that we wouldn't have all five senses. We would only use one. And so here we are now about to reawaken. Okay. And it's because of the divine feminine. I'm going to tell you, if the divine feminine would not have started growing up on the earth, we wouldn't be waking up right now. Because we have to advance in order to keep up with divine feminine energy. Okay. It's just that simple. I mean,
I got a question though.
Sure.
I got a question. All right. Because just hitting on what you were saying, at one point, I know that we had what they considered a sky mother and an earth father. That was Geb and Nut, right? Okay. How did the polarities get switched where it became now the earth mother and the god, the sky father? How did that happen?
That happened through scholarship of the world today. The world is being ruled by misogynistic males. Women are suffering at an all-time high all over the world. And if the divine feminine had not started manifesting itself, this world would be in peril, right? It is in peril. It's not would be, it is actually in peril. If the women do not stand up and step into the divine feminine, life is gonna be changed. A lot of destruction is gonna happen because there's no representation through the sacred feminine of the divine feminine. When you talk to most people in America and you say a priest is this or a priest is that, they'll look at you like you're crazy. But the scholars wrote them out. That's the way the gods got switched. The male was placed before the female. How is that possible? Let's look at that. Because see, if what I'm saying is true about the divine feminine, you're going to see that in all levels of creation. Now, we don't show that the divine feminine exists in the heavens, right? The universe.
Right.
All right. We saw that through matriarchal civilizations that it exists in our species. Now, let's look at the other kingdoms of the earth. But let's stay with the God kind for right now. Well, let me make this blanket statement. The divine feminine can be seen genetically with the X chromosome. Everything in existence has an X chromosome, and males have an XY chromosome. And so the way that represents the divine feminine is that no life would exist without the X chromosome. There's no such thing as a Y chromosome. When you look under a microscope and you look at an X chromosome, you're going to see that that's not a Y. That's an X chromosome that has been cut in half and sealed. What does that tell you? That tells you that man is a hybrid of the woman. Okay? No life could exist without the X chromosome. It's in all life.
Right.
Without that, you remove that X chromosome, and all you're going to have is females. And don't think that a female can't procreate, because she has everything that a man has. Okay? For example, the clitoris elongates and becomes a penis.
Okay.
Her ovum drops down and becomes testicle. That's why we have a hole in our abdomen that gives us a hernia. Okay, if we don't have it sewn up at birth or work out and stay healthy all our lives. Okay, so when the ovum drops down and becomes her testicles, she has a prostate gland. She creates semen. She has to, because if she don't create semen, sperm has a very little chance of surviving in her vaginal tract. and getting into her womb. Okay, so all these things we get from her. We have breasts. Why does a man have nipples when he does not lactate? Because contrary to popular belief, he was created in the image of a woman. And I know a lot of men are going to find that hard to believe, but I have seen men with breasts firmer than a lot of these women out here. Okay, so it's a basic fact. No, I mean, I may be joking, but it's serious.
Are you talking about breasts or are you talking about nipples?
No, I'm talking about
Are
breasts.
you saying breast, or are you saying nipples?
Yeah, 38s, 34s, firm, and saggy.
Okay.
Listen. I got a neighbor. He live upstairs. He got a size 34s.
Wow.
Okay, and he flaunts them like it's normal. And I said, Rob, hey man, why don't you cover up, man? I want to look at you. You got breasts, bro. I don't want to see that. I would rather see that on a woman. No, serious, and we laugh about it, because he knows me, but no. These things directly points you to the divine feminine. There's no getting around that. You cannot get around that. Look at this. In the womb, once a woman is impregnated, look at the seed, the egg, and look at the sperm under a microscope. The egg is nearly 10,000 times bigger than the sperm. It's boiling with energy. Okay, and they have just recently found out that the egg chooses what sperm it's going to let impregnate it. Both of them have intellect. Okay, but I'm showing you how the divine feminine is contributing to life more than the man. Okay, so the sperm impregnates the egg. This is now I'm dealing with genetics, okay, and I'm showing you about the birthing cycle now. The sperm impregnates the egg. It becomes a fetus. It becomes an embryo in the womb.
Go ahead.
Once it matures past the embryonic state, guess what? It's a female fetus. It becomes a fetus until neuromelanin decides that it's going to become a male.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, you didn't have to I'm just highlighting some of the comments that we have been going on, just in case you didn't see it. I'm still allowing you to keep going. I think that what you're saying is very, very important to feminines in this this broadcast, because they see how I operate, and they see that I deal with a direct connection a lot of times. And it's because, like you said, when we are becoming these priestesses, we are directly connected, to the divine. I don't have to go and pull from this thing. And so I think sometimes it makes people nervous, but I'm telling you, feminines, that you really are that sensitive. You are that intuitive. You can get your information. You can tap right into the source, and you can operate this way and be in that creative energy, because that's what divine feminine is. We're expansive, we're creative, we're bringing about that love and that peace. And it's very important for this time that you're hearing that it's okay to be you. It's okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kohen. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. Well, that fetus becomes female until neuromelanin comes and says, okay, this one is going to be a male. And he's going to have these eyes, this nose after the mother, these ears after the father, the hairline is going to be the mother's. That's what neuromelanin does. One of the things that it does. But the factor that I was stressing is that life itself begins as the divine feminine. Once you become a fetus, it's female until instructions come from the pineal gland that tells what sex the child is going to be.
Right.
This is incredible. This is the type of stuff that they keep from us. Do you understand how advanced we would be if they let us study stuff like this and stop holding it in these vaults that they call museums?
Right.
If this stuff was released to us, we would have been well on our way. And they know that. The divine feminine, you can't get around it. The problem is that the sacred feminine has to rise up and express the divine feminine all over this planet. It's happening whether we want it or not, because in Africa, it's really catching fire in Kenya. And I would say in another 6 to 8 months, it's going to start catching fire in the countries where I'm at. I'm in Ghana, I'm in Sierra Leone, I'm in Guinea, and I'm in Liberia.
Okay.
It's going to catch fire there too, because I've been requested to speak, but I'm not going to start speaking in Africa until I move there.
Okay.
But it's going to catch fire there. All of you men and women that are in the audience, you guys need to push the pedal to the metal, because this is a wealth of information. I mean, I can give Sophie artifacts that you can examine that will back up everything that I'm saying. Now, I want to talk about the gods that created us. They taught us the divine feminine once they got here. Now, I want you to understand that the divine feminine was already here. But when they created us, they isolated us. We lived amongst them. And they too taught us the divine feminine. You know why? Because they were living in matriarchal civilizations. The gods were. They married their sisters. Their youngest got the birthright. Look at Navia, and some of you in the audience may know what I'm talking about.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were going to call me Navia.
Huh?
I knew you were going to call me Navia. What did I just say?
I'm sorry.
You just called me Navia.
You know that was your infant name. And
so let me just clarify that to the audience. My elder is the one who named me Navia when I first started getting into the learning the Hebrew walk and things of that nature, because he recognized me, or he thought that I was a prophetess at that time. Okay. So if you hear him revert back and forth, I am Sophie, but we have a very long history. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You are Sophie, and that was only one error. Okay. The gods that created us, okay, they were also matriarchal. And what I was going to say before I blundered and said Navia, the two Yahwehs of the Old Testament, they were brothers. One of them was the major Yahweh, but the other one was called in when the younger brother would get too rash. Okay, so the reason that the younger brother became the Yahweh is because the birthright goes to the younger in the families. They taught us to live the way they live.
Okay.
In the Egyptian pantheon, it was the same thing. In the Hindu pantheon, but the scholars of today is changing and altering things. You all know they chopping off lips and noses, major monuments in Sumer, Iraq, Iran, Egypt, and in the Hindu, over there in India. They're altering murals on Egyptian pyramids. But the reason that Enlil got the birthright is because he was the younger brother.
Okay.
Now you're seeing gods do this. Okay, they married their sisters. They did matriarchal things and they taught it to us. Now, what you will see that the scholars would say is that it was the gods who made everything patriarchal. No, it was not. Because if you study the Aryans or the Indo-Europeans coming out of the Eurasian steppes of Russia between the Caspian and the Black Sea, you're going to see that it was them. It had nothing to do with the gods. So now I'm not going to lie and say that some of the gods did not try to implement patriarchal civilizations because
Yeah, they did. Some did, yeah.
before Yahweh came, there was rivalry. Before the primordials decided to make Yahweh, the Melchizedek traveled through the universe correcting the gods. Some of the children decided that they wanted to buck the system because they wanted humans to worship them. And the
Right.
humans, they were all gathered up. Our species alone was all gathered up under Yahweh, and they didn't like that. So some of them
Right.
decided to rebel and push forth. That's why these wars that you're seeing in Africa, in the scriptures, they don't give you the real reason that those wars started. Those were gods bucking against the implementation of Yahweh over them because there were too many of them saying, I'm the God of creation. I killed Nam. And the primordials brought that to a screeching halt. Okay, so they lived the same form of life that we did in every aspect. When you study their history, they tried to overthrow. When you read the Enuma Elish, you're going to read 3 stories in one. And in one of the stories of creation, they tell you how the gods named themselves after the primordials. And after they had been in existence for millions of years, they tried to overthrow the female goddesses on their planet. Those females beat the snot out of them. They almost wiped the male gods out. Because you got to remember, it was a female deity that was in control of death. Ereshkigal.
Right.
They were trying to say.
I know all about Ereshkigal.
Yeah. So she was the one who controlled death. And so what it got down to is that they re-implemented the matriarchal system, and they told the males that if you're married, you have to take on more than one wife, because they almost exterminated all the men, the male gods. And they weren't coming back because of Ereshkigal. She said it's not happening. She didn't want Inanna to come back, but one of the Yahwehs pleaded for her. But in any event, they had to re-implement the matriarchal system because of the fact that their race didn't have enough males. And so that meant that whoever the ruler was, whether it was a male or female, well, if it was a male, he had to take on more than one wife. And if he married, let's say he had a main wife, and then later he married a half sister or cousin, she became the primary wife because matriarchy overruled all other forms of marriage. Because see, when you mate with your half sister, your bloodline becomes pure and more powerful. This is what the powers that be don't want us to know. I'm not saying go out there and mate with your full-blown sister. I'm saying that if a sister had a brother and they had different mothers, in our race, we can mate with one another, even with the gods. You don't have to believe me. You can do the research, and you'll see that they did it. And they tell you directly that's how we enhanced our bloodline through marrying our half sister or our half brother or our cousin.
Right.
Okay, that's just what we did. Okay, and the strange thing about it is that all this matriarchy is going on in the Bible, but people read it and they come out thinking that it's a patriarchal book because the woman, this is how they repress the thinking of a woman.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You were going to interject?
I was going to say it's the way that it reads. I mean, because when you really think about it, a lot of the key scriptures, when it's coming down to, women having pertinent roles, they have been demonized. They're always evil. There's always something wrong with them. So that's why, and I think they really did a very heavy mind control on us, because we as females, we're still, competing with one another, over whatever, we're still having a hard time listening to one another. We only want to accept the truth if it's coming from a man. But if we really think about it, We're the ones with the truth. Okay, I'm hushing. Go.
All right. You know why women?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know why women do that?
Why?
Because they're thinking like men, and the men are thinking like women. That's why the men can't function properly. With
Right.
both sexes functioning because they're playing the wrong roles. Remember, Ezer Kenegdo, according to Ezer Kenegdo, the man is playing the woman's role, and the woman is playing the man's role. Okay, she can't help that. Okay, because the society, unless this is why we spoke about writing books previously. This is what makes writing books a necessity, because we take the power to define out of the hands of a people that don't know what they're doing. And then we chart our own fate, which brings us to our destiny. Okay, right now, we're not creating our own fate. They are. It won't happen. And when we read their books, stop using their terms. We have to make our own terms. And then that's when we will truly be free and truly able to advance our species. But until we take the power to define from another race, let them tell us what's good, what's bad, what's up, what's down. We do that by taking back the power to define. And the leadership that's out there today, they're not doing it. They're simply not doing it. Let me give you an example. I don't deal with I'm not going to give you many Sumerians examples, because a lot of people don't study that civilization, but a lot of people have heard of the virtuous woman.
Right.
The average man, that's an Ezer Kenegdo. The average man, if you hooked him up with a virtuous woman, he couldn't handle it. He would have some serious breakdowns. He would be argumentative with her. He would become very insecure. This is Ezer Kenegdo. Now, this is what a lot of people don't realize. What is the man doing? Her husband. What is he doing? Because they're talking about her, but they're implying there's an implication about him. What is he doing?
I did a whole breakdown on this. I did a whole breakdown on this virtuous woman already on one of these videos. We would like to hear it from you.
Well, I'm just saying, that's the divine, that's the sacred feminine. And she's functioning in her right status. Okay. The man, see, the woman is like the hub, and the man is like the spokes. Remove the hub from the spokes, the wheel, it's just not going to work. It has to have that center, or it's just going to roll by itself. That's what men do without divine feminine energy. That woman built an empire. She took him from rag to riches. What did he do? He provided the cash flow for her. This woman had corporations, strip malls, clothing stores, restaurants. So she sat around with the tycoons, and they're trying to learn from her. And then when they meet her husband, they tell him, "You are truly blessed and highly favored."
Right.
Because that woman, see, that man functioned in the role that he was supposed to function in. That's why she was able to do what she was able to do. The typical woman can't do that. Even though they're in a position to do it, more so than males, they'll struggle with doing that because they're not used to the divine functioning in the divine feminine. They're not used to it. They cannot do it. Another example, Abigail. Abigail was David's wife before he got with Bathsheba. Abigail's husband was a moron, but he was filthy rich. David was running from the Philistines. And what happened was he saved Abigail's husband and his entourage. So as he was running from the Philistines and Saul, they became hungry because they were living in the wilderness. So he went to Abigail's husband and asked him for nourishment for one day. He cold snapped on David and said, "Who do you think you are? I don't care if you're supposed to be the king of Israel." And you know, when he was saying that, I said, he must not know how Enlil is. Enlil is crazy. He's truly gonna die now. So what happened was that he got drunk afterward, and Abigail came home. She was out conducting business. When she got home, she meets David, and so David tells her what's happening. She said, "Oh, wait, don't do anything." She said, she told David, there is no way in heaven and hell that this would have happened had I been at home, because I run this. And it wasn't her wealth, it was her husband, but she was an Ezer Kenegdo. Right. So when he woke up from his drunken stupor, she went up one side of him and down the other and told him, "Don't you ever perform like that again. I got this." And so they fed David. But you know how Enlil is. Enlil killed him. Right. Because David was his anointed. And you don't belittle him like Enlil don't play that. Enki probably would have slapped him on the wrist, but not Enlil. Right. So I talk about Proverbs to a degree, and I talk about Abigail, because these are women functioning as the sacred feminine. That's embodied by the divine feminine. They played their true roles, okay? And they were very aggressive, not laid back. See, they use terms like a woman is emotional. Your emotions is what makes you stronger than a man. There's no, they say the woman is the weaker sex. These are affirmations, whether you accept it or not, that causes you to have repressed thinking. So that the sound of protecting a man is foreign to you. You can't wrap your brain around it. But that simply is not true. You were designed to do expressly that. You are his protector.
So I shouldn't feel bad when I'm being told all the time, "Oh, you're being hard on men. You're being so hard on men," because that used to be well, you know me, that used to be my thing. That's what I would do, and go out there, not because I was trying to be a man or think like a man, but because I loved my brothers, and I was trying to get them to a certain level here. But it seems like when I do that, when we come out and we function in the way we were designed to function, we're contentious women. Okay, or the bitch, where we're all of those things, but really all I'm trying to do is love you and get you to that space that you need to be. That's it.
See,
go ahead.
The nature of a woman, this is why you guys carry the baby. You carry that baby in your womb until you perfect it. If you perfect that baby in 7 months, it's coming out. That is your nature. You perfect everything around you. So if a man is not performing and you say, "Hey, you got to get up and go get a job," and then you start getting on his butt, now you become a bitch because he's not functioning in his life.
Right.
He doesn't understand that you're going to perfect things around you. You can't live and a man is not functioning in his right nature. So you're going to come with the mouth. Because a lot of our women are not spiritually inclined, and they don't know how to shut a man down. That's another thing they're going to have to learn about. But you become what they call a bitch because you're trying to motivate him to do the right thing. You've been steady telling him, and now you're getting aggressive with him, and you're letting him know, you get up and go get a job. What he don't want to see you do is get tired of being tired.
Right.
Because now, when you walk away from him, I'm going to say this, and it's a little vulgar, his dick is going to drag in the dirt. Simple as that. I'm telling you.
Oh. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but thank you.
Well,
That's
it's
hilarious.
adults. There are no children on here, okay?
No. Mine is 18 and over. You can see you're fine. I just
Good.
wasn't expecting. That's hilarious.
Right.
Okay, so at this point, he's still continuing to talk, but I am going to put the link in the chat. You know, if anybody has questions, like something that, you know, you've been struggling to understand, he is here. Now, I'm telling you, now's the time to get him because, Lord, he's hard. He's hard to get in contact with. He's got all of this stuff going on. Does anybody have dragging dirt balls too? You got everybody laughing. So, if you want to come in and deal with this, but I want to ask another question though myself.
Sure.
So, you know the video that I sent you with the woman in Africa crying, right? And
Yeah.
crying out to the divine feminine. And then also, you know, you had the gurus like Sadhguru and things of that nature that was always dealing with the divine feminine and dragon energy. Okay.
Yeah.
We have made that connection with the divine feminine and dragon energy. Can you expound where that came from, or do you know?
Well, actually, we lived amongst dragons, and you can see some of them coming back today. That energy was used by Moses in the scriptures and Isaiah. They actually used dragon energy to conquer the Egyptians, but a lot of people read right by it. Moses had flying serpents that breathed fire that put the fear of Yah in those Egyptians. Isaiah did the same thing. Okay, so the dragon energy has been around us for thousands and thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, because these are ancient creatures that came with the earth. They evolved with the earth, and we were friends with them. Highly intelligent beings. Don't underestimate them. The day is coming where animals are going to be talking, some of them, not all of them, but we're going to meet animals that actually can talk to us. And
I'm waiting. Yeah.
They're starting to do it now, but it's more mentally.
Telepathically.
It's going to get to the point where they're literally pronouncing words. We're going to start seeing animals that went into hiding because mankind is going out the world backwards. And now I have to say something about that sentence that I just said. I used the term mankind. I'm trying to break away from that. You know why? Because that's repressive to a woman. Okay. I'm constantly propping up a male, when it should be womankind. Because I don't have a womb, and no man that I know has a womb. And before this mankind came out, it was womankind. Okay. That's what I mean by we got to stop using their power to define.
Right.
Because when you read these textbooks and they're saying womankind, a mankind, and a man this, and they're referring to humanity, that's not fair to a woman. It's very repressive. And it affects her psychologically. The mental attack is often more successful than the physical one. Even to those of us that have raised our intellect, we still have to catch ourselves, okay, so that we're not being oppressive to other people around us by using certain phrases that they design to keep us from doing what we're supposed to do as a man, what we're supposed to do as a woman. And I'm working on myself, okay? That's one of the things that I really want to stop doing is use certain phrases that I use, like mankind, or man this, always putting the word man before woman. I'm stopping that. In my books that I write, you will see I would put woman before man so that the right balance can return. So I can start repairing the psyche. Yes.
Right. The balance. Mm-hmm.
Right. Restoring that balance, we have to conscientiously do that. Because we are about to. Yes.
I have it looks like a sister in the chat. She wants to know, are we the aliens?
No. No, we're not. We were born far a long time before the Aryans.
Aliens, not Aryans.
Oh, aliens. Yes, we are.
Aliens.
I'm sorry. We are the children of aliens. You would call us a star seed. It was aliens that came here and supplanted our seed on this on the earth. So, in a sense, yes, we are. It's just that we need to stop looking at ourselves as humans. We are not human. We are the God kind.
I've been trying to. I've been hitting it. I've been hitting on home. I've been trying to hit that home. I've been trying to get that home. I've been trying to say, understand what books was created for who and for what. But we got to
Exactly.
get to that point where, we can accept it and be like, okay, all right, maybe I don't need to be, enclosing myself in this. Maybe I need to be, looks like my fire alarm. Okay. Maybe I don't need to be doing that. Maybe if I can just have enough confidence to say, okay, Creator, I know who I am. I'm ready to go on this journey. That type of thing. But Aaliyah said, Geepers, I'm not from this world. I was born to create. I'm with you, darling. Me too. Me too. I'm with you, darling. All right, go ahead, Elder.
Yes. Just to say a little bit more something about that. Earlier, I said that we were born in the womb of goddesses. That's right there stopped us from being human.
Right.
Okay. That took us out of the realm of being humans. Okay. By us being born inside the womb of a goddess, that placed us above all other species on this planet and over all of the different kingdoms on this planet. We are the God kind, and that's where we're getting ready to take this planet right now.
Right.
It's getting ready to get serious on the earth. This earth is about to change. It's not going to be the same. A lot of species are going to die out because as the children of gods, okay, we are going to go back to living our natural lifespan. And what I mean is that when they start deciphering our textbooks, no matter what part of the world they came from, you got to understand that people who decipher these textbooks, their counting system is off. They learn how to count with their fingers. That's why the base number is 10.
Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna disappear for you for 2 minutes because I have to use the bathroom. So you're going to be on the big screen, okay? And then I'll come right back. I just want you to know that, okay?
Okay.
Don't be nervous. Just keep going.
All right. As I was saying before, their counting system is off. It's way off. Okay. And we never used a base number of 10. We used a base number of 60. And that was a sexagesimal system. That's why you got 60 minutes to an hour. Okay. 60 seconds to a minute. It's based on a sexagesimal system of 60. That was our base number. So a lot of the ages that you read, at least in the Bible and in some of these other textbooks, because these are the same gods, okay, that are writing in these books. It's the same deities. You have to, for example, in the scripture, they may say that, let's use what they call Adam, that Adam is 930 years old. That's not his true age. That being actually lived to be 52,000 years old, because you got to take that sexagesimal system and multiply you take that 60 base number and multiply that 930 years by 60, and you get his true age. So the time spans that they're giving us are off by a whole lot. They're simply not telling us the truth. They're not. And it's up to us to correct it. If we don't correct it, we're not going to be in sync with our parents, our ancestors, who are the gods that created us. And that means trouble for us. Okay? We need to understand that we don't even live to be 1% of our mortality rate, not even 1%. And that is what my mother called a crying shame, that we don't even live to be 1% of our original age. A lot of us
Okay.
would probably read and say that 930 years is a lot, but what do you say about 50,000 years? That's how. That's why a lot of the stuff that you read in these books they don't make sense. The Earth being created in 7 days. That is the most ridiculous. The universe being created in 7 days. That is one of the most ridiculous things I ever heard in my life. Even as a child, I never believed that. I didn't.
Interruption. Interruption.
Yes.
You see that we have somebody in the chat, Prosperity Mission, and she asked a question and said, will you speak on the difference in DNA makeup of different people?
Well, yeah. We're the blueprint for all life. What changed us, what makes us gods is the haplotype. The Hebrews have several different haplotypes that they belong to that none of the other races have. Okay, so you can't let other races tell you what your haplotype is, because they're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you that you mix with all these other races, and that simply is not true. Because if we were mixed with all these other races, they would be performing on the level that we perform on, and they don't. And you should know that by now. It's the haplotype that separates the God kind from all of the other species on this planet.
The haplotype.
That's how when Shem, when Japhet and Ham. When Noah had Shem, Japhet, and Ham, how did they know that Shem was of the offspring of the gods? It was the haplotype. They knew genetically who he was, and we did too. So when you start learning what your haplotype is, that tells you, and what you're going to find out is that we differ from all the other races in our haplotype. We have the same amount of chromosomes, but
Come on in here.
Huh?
I'm talking to the audience. They posted questions. I'm like, come on in here. Come on in here. The Bronx Yogi from Creative Gang. He said, "What is your take on the afterlife, Elder?"
On the what?
Oh, and I didn't shout out everybody. I'm so sorry if I missed you guys. Shout out to Creative Gang. Thank you guys. Bronx and Sashat. Thank you, my sister Goddess, for coming through as well. Asar, haven't heard from you in a while. And for anybody that I don't know, thank you for joining in at this moment. You're always welcome here. This is a free thinking platform. Okay. All right. So he wants to know, what's your take on the afterlife? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, right now, we're not really dying right now. Okay. What they call death, that's not death. If it was death, I couldn't, like right now, I can practice necromancy and I can call my mother back. If she was dead, I wouldn't be able to do that. That's a holding place. Okay, for example, if you died today and you say, I'm not going to sleep, you're going to keep a frequency that's higher than ours, that you're going to have to slow down in order for us to see you, but you're not going to go, your body will deteriorate, but your spirit is still going to be here, walking amongst us. And the only way we can see you is by you becoming denser. And the way you can prove that is through Kirlian photography. Okay, For example, you can take an amputee and you can get a Kirlian camera and take a picture of his leg or his arm that has been amputated. And with Kirlian photography, what you're going to see is that arm is still there, but you're looking at his spiritual essence. You can do a tree like that. and everything. See, the problem is that we're waiting to get the final judgment to see who's going to ascend, because my bloodline was the same bloodline that was back there in ancient times. Your bloodline, same bloodline. All the bloodline has just been perpetuated.
Right.
But we need to find out who's going to be the final ones that ascend. And when I say ascension, we're not going to leave the earth. We're going to be here, but we're going to be in a light form, just like our creators were. They don't tell you that the word El, when you start tracing it back, it goes back to the shining one, or Elf. Elf was a shining one. Elohim is a shining one, and it is feminine, not masculine. Yahweh was the leader of the shining ones. This is what used to be in the book until patriarchy took over. So the afterlife is still on hold right now. Okay, you can die, and you'll go to sleep. You won't really be dead. You're just sleeping, because you can look in some of the sacred texts and they talk about it, especially in the Bible. The Israelites was resurrecting the dead so much that Yahweh said, hey, y'all got to stop doing this. This is disrupting the time continuum. Stop. Now the penalty is death for resurrecting the dead, because that person was not dead. A primary example is with Saul. Saul, after he had rejected the Creator, his life was miserable on him. So he wanted to get the blessings to go out against the Philistines. And so what happened was he went to a priestess.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says witch, but back then that word witch was not in our vernacular. Okay.
Right.
So he goes to a priestess, and he tells her, I need for you to call Samuel back. And the priest said, oh, wait a minute, hold up. We can't do that. The penalty for us doing that is we're going to get beheaded. So he pulls off his hood and says, no, you won't. I'm the king, and I will not behead you. So she summons Samuel back. When Samuel comes back, he's pissed off. But listen to what he said. He told Saul, he said he was angry. He said, why did you awaken me? He did not say that he brought him back from the dead. He asked him, why did you awaken me? And then he pronounced death on Saul. That's not the grave. Don't let these people fool you. Let's see, we got a brother.
There we go. Gotcha. Yes, this is Ezer. He was going through he was one of my chief people that was going through the ascension journey with me. We was all struggling in spiritual warfare and all that together. So, he's out in Tennessee, and I love him to death. I guess he got something to ask you.
Well, first off, Shanti, greetings, all of you. Okay, going back to the afterlife.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing all right, yourself. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear him? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to the afterlife portion, I remember SyvellaR Shalom was talking about in different, I guess, frequencies where we're able to see, I guess, not people will call apparitions of ghosts, but the actual spiritual essences of what used to be or what's still roaming the earth. Now, when we were speaking of the afterlife now, are these people that we are seeing still here on earth, are they just visiting, or are they still trapped here?
No, they chose not to go to sleep. They didn't want to rest until the final ascension. Okay, so they're walking around at a higher frequency than what we are. And the only time that we can see them is when they master that frequency and they become denser with it. They slow it down. Okay, because in life, there's no solid mass in creation. Everything is vibrating at a frequency. So what we call death is not really death. So as I said previously, if you lost your flesh and did not lay it down on your own and said, I'm not going to go to sleep, you would stay conscious, because as long as you are self-aware, you are
freezing.
alive.
Elder,
It's
Elder?
only the death comes when you no
Elder?
longer.
Can you hear me?
Okay, he's back. He's back. Okay, the death.
Elder, I need you to rewind it. Give us the last 30 seconds because you froze and we got none of that.
Okay, what I was saying is that most of us are dying, laying our flesh down prematurely, because our bodies are designed so that we can lay the flesh down and pick it up. So when you lay your flesh down and you cannot pick it up, if your spirit, if you say that I'm not going to go to sleep, I'm going to remain self-aware, you're going to walk the earth, but you're going to be traveling in a frequency that's higher than everybody else's frequency, because there's no such thing as solid mass on this planet. Not even a rock is solid. It's vibrating. So in essence, right now, there's no such thing as death. It's just whether or not you want to decide to go to sleep or stay awake. Because if you go to sleep, you're still going to be reawakened to see if you're worthy to ascend.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, because I've been having like the weirdest dreams for the past 3 weeks, to include last night. Like this morning, I woke up just drained, and I went to sleep at a reasonable time.
Wow.
And it's like, well, as Sophie would tell you, that I jump timelines more than a little bit, and it seemed like I just been in everybody's timeline the past 3 weeks. Like people I don't even know. I'm like, why am I here? I don't even know who you are. Why am I here? And why am I seeing all of this? But I'm seeing it.
Okay, so
right.
when you're moving around spiritually like that, how much understanding do you have when you're moving in and out of those different places? Do you have a lot of understanding?
Yeah, I mean, I know certain things I see is for the future and what's to come, not only just for myself, but for other people in the world itself. So,
well, we're going to start seeing a lot of that, because our
Elder,
senses are going to start.
I refer to him as like a doomsday prophet. Did you hear me, Elder?
Yeah, I did hear you.
Did you hear me?
What did you say?
Yeah, that's the doomsday prophet there. If we're ever in the group meeting, or if we're having a conference call, oh yeah, he can definitely tell you all of the bad that might be happening. Go ahead, it's good.
Well, you know what? He can probably give the good too. It's just that he hasn't mastered his gifts yet. You're going to start seeing a lot of that happen in our people, where we're going to start regaining our abilities back. Okay, that's getting ready to start happening. This is a part of the ascension process that we got to go through. Okay, you're going to start learning. You're going to start seeing the chakras being pushed on us a lot more. The circadian rhythm. You're going to learn this because we can use the 5 brain waves that we have to match almost any frequency in existence. And what he's doing right now, he's doing it inadvertently. But if you were to buckle down and learn the 5 brain waves and meditate and practice controlling each one of them individually, watch what happens to your ability. You're going to be able to concentrate right in on it and gain mastery. All you got to do is spend the time. We waste our time on mundane things. We have bills. We worry about jobs. Housewives. Some of the most craziest things I've ever seen in my life, instead of focusing on the primary things in life. Your gifts are coming back to you. You should treasure them. okay, and gain mastery over them. Start focusing on them. Be receptive to them. And it's going to open up a whole new world for you where you can start helping other people move a lot faster.
Gotcha.
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I appreciate it.
Anybody else got any questions for the elder? No problem. Are you getting ready to get off? Are you done with your questions?
I mean, yeah.
Sorry.
It was just that part, the whole.
Well, let me say something.
Okay.
Before he goes, I want to say something before he goes. The fact that you were considering death is a topic that a lot of people won't even think about because they're afraid of it. Death is not something you should be afraid of. You should run right into it. It's just another phase in your life that you can control. You just haven't taken the time to learn how. And you're on your way. This astral traveling that you're doing, you're on your way.
Mm-hmm.
You just haven't tried to master it yet. Okay? Which puts you in front of a lot of people. That's why I'm telling you, slow down and get mastery over it so you can help brothers and sisters out here that's struggling. You got people out here that are getting their gifts back and they're afraid of it. They won't talk about it.
Right.
They fight it. You're not doing that. You talked comfortably about it. It was something that I can tell that you kind of had a smile on your face that because it shook you up in the beginning, but you seem like you're at home with it right now.
Yeah.
You're walking in it like it's yours. Okay? Make sure that it's yours. Keep track of your chakras because they play a large role in your traveling into levels of manifestation. We got 7 of them. That's why we have 7 spiritual bodies that are created with the chakra. And you're already starting. It's time for you to get it under control now. You got practice. Learn yourself a little bit more. Start getting into the chakras, seeing what they're for. And I mean, you can question me too. I mean, because if you have tough questions and you don't know where to turn, I'm not going to give you anything that you cannot use. Okay? But right now, your gifts are coming and you need to understand the chakras in order to gain control over them. Because you're jumping into different dimensions. When you jumping into timelines, those are dimensional too. Okay? So you're going back and forth. You need to know how to use your 7 levels of manifestation that comes through your chakras. So you can freely travel in and out of those realms. These are things that we don't focus on. You've heard of chakra before, right?
Oh, of course,
Good,
yes.
good. It's time that you deal with that now.
Okay.
Yeah. It's time that you deal with that now.
I can't bring him on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Maybe if I leave. Let me leave.
You're welcome.
Okay, he's going. I got somebody else that wants to come in and talk to you right now. He's known by the Gnostic Warrior, and he may have some questions. Let's go, brother. How are you?
How you doing?
What?
How you doing? How you doing?
No.
Well, I'm fine.
Yes.
He's a Gnostic warrior?
That's just a name.
That's what his title says.
Yeah, that's just a name I just chose to myself. You know, I chimed in pretty late. I seen what the topic was about, pertaining to the feminine energy, about the woman, right? Okay. Yeah. I seen in the chat. I recognized one of the brothers, SyvellaR Shalom. He's a part of the Credit Gang.
Yeah, my brother.
He's not on yet.
Yeah, he's not on. I seen him in the chat. I make YouTube videos on here as well. My last set of videos I had made was involving the woman and how she has been desecrated, how she has been dethroned, you know, from her original position. Especially when it comes down to the Bible. The Bible is a male-dominant patriarchic book. Let me share my screen with you for a second. and I'm going to ask the brother a couple of questions. I'm not going to take up too much of your time.
Okay. How do you do it?
Let me see. Okay, I'm going to show the book.
Do I have to do something?
No. I'm doing it right here. Okay. So
Okay.
if you can see this, this is a book by Barbara Walker. It's called The Woman's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets, right? As you can see, I've had this book for a while. I have tape and stuff all over it. She goes into thorough detail about what happened with the woman, why she was dethroned and things like that, knocked out of her position of power. Before there were prophets, there were prophetess, and
Right.
they took her out. They took her out of the equation. All right. And then I have this book, these two books right here, Mommy Water. All right. She's passed away, Mama Zachary. She produced these books, speaking about the goddess and things like that. And when it comes down to spirituality, you know, especially pertaining to Black people, you know, we have to get to the root of the cause of these problems while we're in these situations. You know, why the woman is not revered, you know, versus the man.
Right.
You know, because I tell a lot of people we can't always keep on blaming the white man, because
Right.
he's a new race. He's new. So we have to think about what was happening back in the past, you know, and why are we in the position we're in right now. So if we were the only people on the planet before white people came on the planet, what happened? So before there were you know, we deal with racism, right? So before there were race wars, there were gender wars, male and female, right? That was going back and forth. And throughout these books that I've read, you know, I was putting these things, this stuff together, and it started making a lot of sense. And I tell a lot of people whenever I go on live streams, things like that, that my YouTube channel, it constantly gets attacked. My videos get taken down without my consent and things of that nature. And I've taught things from the Bible as well. You know, and there are a lot of you know, so-called, you know, those Hebrew Israelite camps, and they teach in the Bible as well. But I posed a question yesterday because I was on I don't know if you all are familiar with SyvellaR's TV, right? I was on his channel yesterday. Okay, yeah, I was on his channel yesterday on the live stream that he had did, and I was explaining to him. I was telling him, I said, well, I was teaching from the Bible, and these camps, these Hebrew Israelite camps, they teach in the Bible, but their videos don't get taken down. My videos get taken down without my consent. You know, and they say I promote hate speech and all these things of that nature. But you know, it's been times, just the past 2 years, they took down five of my videos in a row without my consent, and they still doing it now. You know, whenever I post videos up, I come with nothing but straight book references and sources that people can validate. So I don't want people to say I'm speaking this stuff out of thin air. You know, so I had shared this book yesterday with SyvellaR, right? Now listen to what these people admit that Black people was doing, what power they had. All right, now this is the book called the book your church doesn't want you to read, part 2. I have part 1, right? Now this is on page. When I read this, I said, what these white folks just say? Let me see it. Give me 1 second. Because when it comes down to the you know, people call it God or the creator, whatever, you know, we have different names for it. And people have to realize that man came up with the concept and idea of God, what we call God, this universal force of energy. Give me 1 second. I just read this to him yesterday. Give me 1 second.
Are you looking for that? What's the name of your channel so I can put it in the chat?
Canaanite Canaanite warrior. I'm gonna post it in the chat as well. If you have a hard time finding it. Okay, now here it is. Now listen to this. Okay. Now this is on page 337. Okay. Now this quote that I'm about to read is coming from the Religious Right, a publication of the ADL. That's the Anti-Defamation League, or the so-called Jewish people, right? Now, before there were any Bibles or any cuneiform tablets or anything like that, what was man going off of? What was his religious beliefs? He was going off of straight nature, right? And we as Black people are so caught up in that Bible, and to question the so-called God of the Bible. I'm gonna be 100% real. Black folks are afraid of this God of the Bible. They're afraid they're gonna go to hell or be struck down by lightning. I question all of this stuff, and when I put these videos out, I pose the question to the audience members, and you know they can't refute what I'm saying. So they come with all these different concepts and theories, you know, but they're not validating any of their claims. Now listen to what these people say. This is what they say that what Black folks' religion is. They say the background of the Negro culture is African and magic, and the purpose of the magic are control over power. I'm sorry. The background of Negro culture is African and magic, and the purpose of magic are control and power over God, man, nature, and society. Voodoo, or magic, was the religion and life of American Negroes. Voodoo songs underlie jazz, and old voodoo, with its power goal, has been merely replaced with revolutionary voodoo, a modernized power drive. So right here, these white folks just admitted that Black folks had the power over nature, God, and man. Now, what type of power is that? I thought this God of the Bible was supposed to be all powerful, but these people just said Black folks have the power over God, man, and nature. What's going on here? Now to validate what they just said in this book, when you go into this book right here, the Africans wrote the Bible, they say the same thing. This guy, his name was Peter Eckler. He was a so-called Jewish man, or a Jew. He said the same thing. So, like, when it comes down to the concept of heaven and hell and angels and demons, well, who thought of that stuff? Where did those concepts come from? Now, this is on page 32. This book is called The Africans Wrote the Bible. Here's the author right here, Nana Banshee Dakwar, right? And I'm gonna read what the guy said. His name is Peter Eckler. This is what he said about Black folks. He says that an imaginative, superstitious race of Black men should have invented and founded, in the dim obscurity of past ages, a system of religious beliefs that still enthralls the minds and clouds the intellects of leading representatives of modern theology. That still clings to the thoughts and the tinges with the potential influence, the literature and faith of the civilized and cultural nations of Europe and America. Now, let me see here. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Okay. So that's him saying that, right? Okay. Give me 1 second. I want to get the exact quote when he said this.
Who's the author of this book, please?
The author's name. His name is Nana Banshee Dakwar.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me get the quote, because this man named Peter Eckler. He said that Black people came up with the concept. He said Black people came up with the concept and idea of God. That's why people believe in God, because someone thought of God. Because before there was any Bibles written, man has been here for so long. They were trying to figure out, well, man, how did we get here? Nobody's teaching us how we got here. So they said, well, hey, we're going to come up with a concept and idea, and we're going to call it God.
Elder, you want to address that? Elder?
Yeah, I do. Actually, he said a lot of things. First of all, Black people have never been monotheistic. That's a white concept. We've always been henotheistic. And the reason that you can, a white man can tell you, or a brother, an African can tell you that we didn't create the concept of God. We lived with the gods. We have been controlling nature. We were created to control nature, all the kingdoms of the earth, and the Bible tells you that. See, the problem with mankind is religion. We let other people define for us what we should and should not worship, what we should and should not eat, and this is wrong. Okay, we have the ability to do that for ourselves. We don't need nobody. We don't need anyone colonizing our minds and telling us that concept of God. No, we did not, because you can go back as far as history will take you, and you were on the earth, which points to the universe, her being the supreme intellect. The divine feminine, we have been worshiping her since time immemorial. We just got through talking about that. And you said that the Bible is purely a patriarchal book. It's not. It's mainly matriarchal. People who read it, because they're blinded by religion, they only see patriarchy. They don't see the matriarchy of the Bible. It's matriarchy all in the scriptures. We just got through talking about that, how Abraham married his sister. That's matriarchy. That's matriarchy. Isaac, his son, married his auntie. That's matriarchy. The firstborn getting the birthright over the older. In a patriarchal civilization, the older son gets the birthright. In matriarchy is the youngest son. It's the way that you read these books. You have to, first of all, free your mind. You got to remember now, we've been an oppressed people for hundreds of years. We've had someone define what is and what is not for us. It's time that we stop doing that. Take the power to define, like you're trying to do right now, and push out what is reality for us. Okay? We have to write books ourselves, but we didn't create the concept of God. It was already there.
Okay.
Welcome, Empress. I see my other sister, Empress Ashot, that it has joined the chat right now, and I think she wants to talk to you, Elder.
We have been worshiping it, and we're the closest. Well, I say we. Let me change that.
Frozen.
Wow.
Peace and love.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
I was about to say that we're the closest thing to God. Let me rephrase that. The woman is the closest thing to what we call God. We are a hybrid of her. Okay, we just got through talking about how she's the one that is a sacred feminine that represents the divine feminine on the earth. Even the Hebrews believed in the sacred feminine. But what they did was they hid it in the Bible with words like grove. They removed goddess, trees. When you look at how does a tree define what a goddess is? How does a grove, if you read that the Israelites worshiped the grove, what are you going to think? It was a plant, right? But when you look up that word, it's telling you that this was a goddess.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So we got to take back the power to define. Stop letting these people we are the original people. Everything extends from us. Everything else on this planet is hybrid life forms.
Would you?
We
Let me
need to take the power to define back from the people who are.
let me ask you this question. I'm gonna let you go. Would you say that it's fair to say that the Bible is really based upon I would say I have information on it. We'd say, for lack of better terms of fertility cult, like dealing with fertility. That's dealing with the woman, right? And a lot of, like you said, a lot of stuff is masquerading in the Bible. You have to decipher that stuff. So like,
okay,
you know, you
again,
have,
yeah, I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying, like, so would you agree with that statement about fertility cult, like like you said, with the trees, with the groves, and you know, things of that nature, dealing with the woman, because the woman, like you said, the woman is really suppressed, and like with the Holy Spirit, that's the Holy Spirit, that's feminine, that's the Ruach, right? And so, in biblical theology, you have the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, but where's the woman? They replaced her with a ghost. Where is she at? You know, they took her out.
Okay, you have to remember now. You have to remember. Are you in the society that we live in right now? It's dominated by androcentric males. Okay, that have a misogynistic attitude towards women. So they're trying to wipe her out of everything because she brings balance back to the creation. Okay,
Right.
When you deal with a fertility cult, who put that on the divine feminine? Those statues that they call fertility cults is showing you that the primordial creatrix is the one that started everything. The reason they call it, white men call it a fertility cult, is because they're trying to minimize the position of the woman and remove the idea that a goddess ruled everything, created everything. Okay, fertility cult, we didn't create that. That's what Eurocentric males did. When I look at a statuette of a big woman holding her breast, she's pregnant, got huge hips, that shows me that holding her breast shows me that she's sustaining life. The hip shows me that she brings forth life. So for them to minimize the creatrix by saying, "Oh, that's a artifact for a fertility cult," is the biggest misnomer that ever hit this planet. Because again, when you go back 6,000 years, you don't find a male god. You don't find a prophet. You don't find a priest. Everything is feminine. You have the creatrix and her priestess, and matriarchal civilizations all over the world. This thing with this one male all-powerful God, that's what the rulers of the world today did, to remove the woman out of her sacred position in the earth and wreak havoc on the earth, because she was designed to check the male, put him in check. She covers him, she protects him. Okay, and they don't want you to ever find that out. They don't, because now races are going to start advancing at an alarming rate, because they're not being, a man is functioning in the position of a woman. That's what's happening on the earth today. That has to reverse.
Yeah.
You had a question. You had
I
another
love
question
these
for
divine
me?
feminines coming through like this. I think Sachet does. I'm not sure.
Hey,
greetings, Elder.
I see the wind through
How
you
are
too,
you?
huh?
Yes, peace and love to you, Elder. Peace and love to you. I do
Thank
have
you,
a
brother.
question for you. You're
Well, the
welcome.
brother had a question.
Oh, he
He
did.
had
Okay, I
an
apologize. Okay,
No.
I don't want to jump in.
No, I was just saying, everything that you said so far, I agree with. I don't, you know, we can agree to disagree. You know, that's fine. Everything that you said, like I said, I've researched already. Nothing you said is not out of not out of sync with what I've researched and what I've done videos on. So, you know, in terms of the woman, I have no problem with that. I see already that the balance is off. You know, just I mean, you look at
Exactly.
society. When you look at the society today, you know, men don't have reverence for women. You know, they don't have hospitality. They don't respect the elders. You know, they cuss the woman out and things like that, and you know, treat her like she's trash. Uh, even in the Bible, in the New Testament, Paul says that a woman's not allowed to speak. You know what I'm saying? So I'm familiar. I'm familiar with this
Exactly.
with the divine feminine things like that. Like when you say the word math, there's mother in that, or with the word the matrix, that's the woman's womb, the mother. Like I said in this book right here, what you said, Elder, it it uh it it totally lines up with what you're saying about the woman. This book right here, she goes to everything you said. She goes to all of that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
so like I said, you know, I've had this book for a while. It's got tape and stuff all over it. The pages is falling apart. You know, I have this thing highlighted from front to back. You know, so yeah,
I
I mean,
see you've been reading it. I can
oh
see
yeah,
that you've been reading it.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I do. You know, what my life mainly consists of outside of work. I read 24/7. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just what do you call it? I'm not tunnel vision on one side, one thinking frame of mind. You know, my imagination is out there. You know, I go beyond this physical reality. You know, so I appreciate you, Elder. You know what I'm saying? You brought out some good points for me to further look into my research
Right.
on what I've been doing. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh,
uh,
I appreciate you, brother.
I give you your flowers, man. While you're alive today, you know a lot of people won't say that. You know they like I said they
Right.
do not respect the elders. You know they look down upon them. You know, and without you all, we won't be here today. You know, so you know that's why the younger generation today is falling so they are falling so bad, man. You know they constantly in and out of jail. They don't have no guidance. Nobody's there to guide them. You know they can't look to the woman. They don't want to look to the woman. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because they treat her like she's
Right.
trash. You know, I've seen other black people, you know, black guys YouTube channels, and they talk about the woman bad. Like, man, I mean, you're gonna really talk about the woman like that? I mean, she's the reason you here. You know, when we talk about the divine feminine, about you want to talk about what's that substance? Melanin. That's the woman. That black that's substance, carbon, melanin. That's come from a black woman. You know, and
Mm.
they just overlook that stuff. Like I said, man, my imagination, my creativity thought is beyond this flesh. I see past
Right.
the garbage and trash. You know, people are so stuck in this material reality. Uh uh
Right.
I've
I'm
shown
with you.
on the last podcast that SyvellaR Shalom had, I showed him, you know, these and people think that this physical reality that's all there is. They're in for a rude awakening. I've shown SyvellaR Shalom that these other entities they do exist. You know, and when people see these other entities, they never see they always get like a fuzzy picture. They never get like a full authentic picture what these other beings look like. And I showed him, and he was like, "What am I looking at, man?" I said, "Yeah, man, this is what I do. I'll go beyond the norm." And when people see this stuff, they can't find them. Like, man, where you find that from? Like, hey, man, this is what I do, bro. I'm constantly researching, and if somebody says that this is not real, I challenge anyone that says that the that when we die, they say that when we die, this is all there is. Now, that's a lie. Because I challenge anyone on this panel or that's in the chat room, to go to a YouTube channel that's called Nuke's Top 5 Ghost Videos. And throughout all those videos, this guy is showing from all around the world that the people who died they are still here. They haven't gone anywhere. So why haven't they gone anywhere?
Exactly.
These these people who have died are still stuck. They're stuck here because they don't want to let go of this reality. You know, and I will always say, like, well, where are all the black ghosts at? When black folks die, where did they go? Where are their spirits at? I came across books. I have books in the house right now. And they say out their own mouths that black folks are still here. They ain't going nowhere. They still here. So, you know what I'm saying? They want us to believe that this is it. You know, once you die, that's it. That's a lie. That's not true. So, you know, I tell people you have
So
to.
my brother. No, I was just getting ready to say, I guess my brother Gnostic Warrior is letting everybody know that he actually does his research. He is not a YouTube scholar. Is that what you're saying? You're not a YouTube scholar?
No, I'm not a YouTube scholar. You know, I took it upon myself. I took it upon myself to question what I've been taught my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Question my reality. You know,
right.
Just because somebody puts it in a book, you know what I'm saying, that doesn't mean you have to gravitate towards and say, hey, this is the absolute truth. Because nature turn around and bite you in the ass, right. Say, hey, this what you thought was in that book was true. You know what I'm saying? Nature will turn right around and show you something totally different. So you know what I'm saying? She will show you something that's way beyond this human physicality. She will show you a different being. Like, right. Okay, well, I thought mankind was on the beings that's in existence. Where these other beings come from? What is so-called God in the Bible? Where these other beings come from? I thought it was just humans that he made. What these other so-called, you know what I'm saying, these so-called gray alien beings, these Bigfoot beings? I have photographs on that.
Right, I do too. I do too. You know I do too. I have live photographs. I've captured those beings. Sachette, I know you've been waiting there nice and patiently. It is your turn, darling. You go ahead and talk to the elder.
Peace and love to you, elder. So good to see you. You're looking wonderful. You're looking wonderful. I had a question for you, elder. You had mentioned you were talking about the haplogroup of the gods. And my question to you is, do you know what is the haplogroup of the mtDNA, which is the mitochondrial DNA of the goddesses that their children is carrying? Is it the X haplogroup X, or do you know?
Say that again. The last part is it okay. The what?
Is it the X haplogroup X?
Not to my knowledge. It's not. It could be, but we're in that HB, the haplogroup. What is it? HB1, 1A, something like that. That haplogroup is what all of your main Hebrews have, with the exception of Judah. I mean Levi. Now the female haplogroup. I haven't really done very much research in that, because you're dealing with the mitochondrial gene, okay?
Yes.
And
yes,
that's going to be different automatically. Yes. It's going to be different from the rest of the haplotypes because it's mitochondrial. Okay,
right,
that's
absolutely.
That's eternal. The mitochondrial gene is eternal. It's not like the rest of the haplotypes. Okay, so I'm not familiar with the exact construction of it. But I will agree with you and say that it's different, definitely.
And the reason why I asked that, elder, is because I've been reading this article. It was written back in 2006. This biologist wrote this article. And I stumbled across this back in, I want to say, February of this year. And in the article, he began to talk about the mitochondrial DNA and the origins, how it can be traced back to a certain haplogroups can be traced back to a certain region of origin. And within certain regions, you have these this one particular haplogroup. And then if there was a mutation that happens to that particular mitochondrial DNA, which is absolutely not always, it doesn't always mutate, but should it mutate, what happens is her children from her haplogroup won't go far. They will remain within. Yes, I seen that
She's
because
right.
I
She's
researched
right.
that, and they were saying about the haplogroup L. Thank you, madam. And I researched that, but I was asking because I was under a different types of information just by me researching a little bit with the haplogroups. And I know haplogroup L, which is feminine, but they also talked about the haplogroup here of the quote unquote African American or American, what we would call Aboriginal American Indian or whatever here. But the article used the term the African Americans, and he began to talk about how.
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
He used the term African American, the biologist did. And what he was doing, he was comparing the mitochondrial DNA that had been analyzed on the continent of Africa, or what they call Africa. And he was saying that, begin to talk about the origins of the mitochondrial DNA will always remain in the region of its particular origin. And if there was any mutation of that mitochondrial DNA, it won't be far from that region. It will be actually near, like basically, the saying, the apple don't fall far from the tree. So the children of the mother will actually still, or that have descended from her particular mitochondria won't go far from the region of the origin from where her mitochondrial DNA originated. So with that being said, yes, sir.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, Elder. I'm listening.
Well, the reason that they put everything in Africa is because they can't get into Sumer. And the laboratory for creating our species was moved from Sumer to South Africa, where they're finding the mitochondrial gene at. The actual lab started off in Sumer, but those people over there won't let America in because you know how America is. They'll go over there talking about they want to dig 1 block and they'll take 10 miles. And so they don't let them in there. That's one of the reasons Saddam Hussein got killed, because he refused to give up those 24,000 tablets that came from the library of Ashur Bani Paul, okay, that was over there. And they murdered him for that, okay? And so they will consistently say Africa until somebody goes over there in the Iran area and start doing digs over there. I wouldn't be shocked if they had information pertaining to that now, but they're just not releasing it, okay? But for now, I mean, we could stay with Africa, but all life originated in that region up in there, okay, and migrated to Africa. And they don't like talking about that because if they talk about it.
So you're saying, Elder, because I want to make sure everybody that's in the chat, I want to make sure I heard you right. You were saying that actually life actually began over in what is modern day Iraq today, and not and all that life migrated to Africa. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to find all your most ancient sites over there that predate African civilizations and life over there by hundreds of thousands of years. Okay, and again, the laboratory that was used to create our kind. Okay, you got to remember now, we interrupted the evolutionary pattern of this planet. Our species was evolving. We were at the Bigfoot level. But when the gods that created us, they intervened in that evolutionary pattern, Bigfoot went into hiding and the hominid disappeared because it wasn't the strongest of species. Okay, so they will talk about Africa because if they expose what went on in Sumer, it'll free the entire world. It would, because it would destroy religion and everything. So they can talk about Africa. They can say life began in Africa, but they won't tell you about Sumer. They will not dig down deep into that. In fact, they released like 7.5 million tablets. The rest of them, they keep in vaults that they call museums all over the world. Major museums that are by these elite colleges, and museums like the British Museum and the Oriental Museum. Okay, so, but yeah, we can deal with Africa because I guarantee you it's going to take us right back.
Uh-oh, Elder, you froze up. I didn't hear that last part, Elder.
What is she saying? You see that notation?
Yes, I wanted to read that to you.
I was saying that we can deal with.
I agree with her on that. I do, Elder. I agree with her on that one, on that point.
She didn't see what she wrote in there. If you can't see it, she's saying there is no single origin of humans. We have many origins. You find things in America that predate everywhere, but it doesn't mean all life started in America.
Exactly, but we do have a single origin of human. Life does not work that way, where we have many origins. The life that you find in the Americas came over here 60,000 years ago from Sumer. That's why you can find the Fuentes bowl in Mexico. You can find cuneiform all in South America, because it's showing you that life traveled from Sumer to this region, established the Olmecs, okay, that went on and migrated the opposite way that they came and went back to Sumer. That's why you have the Tanos people, the Arawak, the Yamasee, the Washita. These people are an offshoot of the people who came over here from Sumer. That's why you have the pyramids over here. America has a pyramid with the same base, if not larger, than the pyramids in Giza. When you look at those pyramids, they all are aligned.
Yes.
Huh?
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. This shows you that Sumer predates everything. It predates everything. That pyramid knowledge was only given to one species, and that was ours. And that lets you know that we don't travel this whole planet. Otherwise, you wouldn't have matriarchal civilizations everywhere, even in Europe. Okay, this all proves that life came from one source, that singularity, and then it went on out. Okay, the problem is that because we are not human, they don't want us to know everything about ourselves, because once we establish the fact that we know we are not human and we start acting like that, all this foolishness stops up on the earth. All
Elder, you
yes.
mentioned. Let me show you something real quick. You mentioned Bigfoot, right? The Bigfoot, like in the Sumerian pantheon, or the Gilgamesh Epic of Gilgamesh. They talk about Enkidu, a hairy creature, right? The Bigfoots. Check this out.
Buddy.
Check this.
Yeah.
Look it up. Check this out. Watch what I'm about to show you.
You did some homework, boy. You've been doing your homework, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Because what I'm about to show you
gonna show us Enkidu?
These beings are not extinct. And guess what? I have 3 or 4 books in the house right now that these white folks have been getting in contact with these beings. And these beings, they are spiritual beings. They're flesh and blood, but they're spiritual beings. And guess what came out of their own mouths? They said that we don't like white people because they're racist, and they're tearing up the planet. And they said, and this white man said that these beings said that these creatures are related to black folks by blood. When I read, I said, "What the hell did this man just say?" Now check this out. You can. People say it's fake. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't write the book. I tell people on my channel, don't get mad at me. I buy these books. I tell people, I say, hey, grab these books now before they take them off the shelf and ban them because they've done it plenty of times. When I tell people to do these things, they don't do it. And they wait to the last minute and say, "Oh man, I should have did it." No, you late. Now check this out. Check this out. I showed this on SyvellaR Shalom video on this channel. I have the video. I have the picture. I have the picture in color. Can you see that? It's called the Sasquatch family tie. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Barely.
Okay. Okay. Can you see that now? Can you see that? The title.
Right.
Now look at this.
I mean, if I get real
yeah,
close to
I
it.
do.
Okay, the author of the book.
I got my glasses on. She needs to put on her glasses.
Okay, the author who wrote this book.
Let me get my reason.
The author who wrote this book, he was out hiking in Canada, right? He was just out hiking, and he had came across this being. What happened was he was out hiking, and he felt somebody was watching him. And what happened was this being was watching him the whole time, but he couldn't see him because the being was so camouflaged in nature, he was blending in. He couldn't see him. So the guy, when he was hiking, he ended up falling. And when he fell, he looked up and said, "Man, what the hell is that?" And the being it startled him. He didn't know how to react. Now, what I'm about to show you is how would you react to this? And I'm going to show you another picture of another being that they came across. Okay, if you can see, do you see? Let me see. Right here, do you see a face right there?
It's hard.
It's hard,
see the silhouette.
Sort of. Yep, I see the face through the. I see the face through the branches.
Okay.
Through the branches.
Okay, right. This being is looking at him, right? Now this is now remember he's walking, and he said he felt somebody was watching him. So this being, you can see him looking at him, but the guy can't see him. So now the guy he's walking, he falls down, and when he looks up, look what he's seeing. He saw this. Can you see that? He has a beard.
I don't have my reading glasses.
He has a beard. He has a mouth. He has a nose. He has a.
Oh, yeah.
He's got hair all over his body.
This is your so-called Esau the Bible. Hairy all over. This is him. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, they tried to genetically splice our genes with him originally. Okay, you'd be surprised. But to the sister that gave the comment, I have much respect for her. Okay, I wish that she would comment a little bit more.
This one right here, I'm gonna bring the comment back up. So
it's about us reasoning with one another. Okay, but she has knowledge, and I have much respect for her. Yeah, that sister right there. Yeah. Much respect for her. And I hope you keep commenting. Okay.
Okay, so this is one being that this guy, he took a picture of him. Right? Now I'm about to show you another being that they found. People think that human beings are the only species on this planet. You crazy. Okay. This is another book that I have. It's called.
The Grays, they've been here with us for quite some time.
It's called "Can You Stand the Truth? The Chronicle of Man's Imprisonment." Right? I showed this on SyvellaR Shalom channel the last time. Check this out. What I'm about to show you is I have another book in the house here, and it goes into paranormal activity, and in one particular scene, in one particular story, a guy, he had became so famous and wealthy, and his wife started asking questions like how did he become so famous and wealthy? What did you do? And he came out his mouth and confessed and said he had got in contact with an entity, and he named it. He had gave the name of the entity. I said, wait a minute, where did I see that name from? So I started pulling my books out. I said, oh shit, here go the being right here. Let me show you what this being looks like. It's called the chupacabra. You can see that the name.
Yes, chupacabra. From
Chupacabra,
Mexico?
right? Registered
Chupacabra
Oh.
from
Yeah,
Mexico.
now, are you ready?
Chupacabra.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all know about him.
Are you ready to see what it really looks like? You can. I showed this on his channel last time. You can see the bone structure. This is what he looks like. This is it.
Let's see my. Ooh,
You see the eyes.
That looks like a hybrid. That's a hybrid of a gray.
that
You see
look
that
like
hair?
a Gollum. He look like
at
a
that.
Gollum.
Hybrid.
You see the bone structure. You see the feet. This
That's
ain't
a
fake.
hybrid.
This real.
Yeah, everything. He's got scoliosis in his back.
Yeah.
And it looks like he almost has a tail, don't it?
Yeah.
That's a hybrid.
Now it says here in the caption. It says that this particular creature was rather small body. It was located at a farm in the city of in central Mexico. Right now they found this being, and they said it had died. Right now I did more research. Right, and I said, where did the concept of these grays really come from? Because if you read the what is that, the Nag Hammadi writings, right? When you read those texts, and it talks about what is that, Sophia, and they talk about Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, and things like that, and it says that she gave birth to a messed up creature. It was born like a fetus, like a premature fetus being, right? And they're saying that these beings are they look like the so-called grays, right? Okay, where's this book at? Check this out. You might agree, you might disagree. That's fine with me. I'm just presenting information. All right. Okay.
No doubt. We are living with other beings on this planet.
Check this out. This is the book that I randomly bought this book off Amazon for like $3 or $4, talking about Tutankhamun and things like that. And when they go into I was going into the tombs and taking the ancestors' bodies and things like that and put them on display in the museums. Okay, this is what they came across. Let me see here. Where is it at? The Pharaoh's children. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Now we all know about we know about some of the pharaohs, right? But they never talk about the children. Okay. Check this out. This is, where is it at? Whose children is this? Okay. They was digging in the caves, and they came across whose children are these? I don't want to get the pharaoh wrong, but I believe it's Tutankhamun, King Tut. Okay, check this out. Now they found yeah, if you can see these are the excavations.
Yeah, that's Tutankhamun.
They found these excavations, right? And they found, when they was doing excavations, they found these coffins, right? And they ended up seeing that they came across these children came out premature. Now, if you can see this image, right? Can you see that? Don't that look like a so-called gray alien or premature fetus? Right here.
It's got the pear-shaped head.
Let me find something.
Now that one, yeah. Well, you know that the Egyptians elongated their skulls.
Yeah.
They made them long and they made them round. But I believe that there was some breeding going on with the graves in Egypt. Because you can see a lot of the artifacts and in the Bible where the graves are standing right next to Israelites and Egyptians.
What you just said. I can validate what you just said right now. I can validate what you said right now. I got a book in the house right now that a guy, his name was Steve Romanek, and he was constantly getting in contact with these gray aliens, and they told him we've been here for the beginning. But they you know, you already know they hide that information from us. You know what I'm saying? Let me see here. 1 second. Let me show you what these grays look like.
I don't think that
That happened. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been making YouTube videos.
Yeah, I don't think that they're pretty much hiding from us. I think that we're not ready. We're not ready to move with them. Huh?
Elder, hold on. What I was trying to get you to hold on because you froze for a minute. We couldn't get any of that, so you're going to have to run it back again. Another 30 seconds. Go back.
Oh, what I was saying while
Elder,
he was trying to get whatever picture is that they're not hiding from us. We're not ready to meet with them. Yeah, we're just not ready to meet with them. Come on, you know that. Look at how people are confronting you for you putting the truth out there.
Yeah.
This stuff is going to be forced upon our people. We're going to be forced to grow up. Okay? The grades are here for us. We just don't call on them. They're experimenting with the other species. Okay, but us, they were drones that were left here to look after us. That's why you see them on artifacts standing with us, talking with us. They're not here to hurt us. They were here to watch over us and protect us. It's just that the powers that be are trying to deal with them for technology purposes. Okay? But no, they're not here to harm us. We are just not ready to meet with them. Because if we were, we would be calling them and summoning them. You know, one of the things that I tell people when they meet with a spirit that vibrates faster than us is to talk to it, get its name. Okay?
Yeah.
Because a lot of folks don't understand how much power resides in a name. Okay? And we're too religious in our thinking to talk with aberration, something that's abnormal or paranormal. It's like what he said earlier when he was talking about how black people deal with the dead. That's what we did in ancient times, and we had to be stopped. Okay, because we didn't want our mothers, our fathers to stay in the grave, so we raised them. The Creator had to threaten our lives in order to get us to stop raising the dead and having them walk amongst our people. So he's absolutely correct. See, the people who live on this planet with us, they don't understand us. That's why we are always oppressed. Okay, because they don't understand. But they do understand how close we are to the Creator. They do understand that. But we have to open up and start talking to these beings, meeting with them, because we're letting other people do it and the earth is not benefiting from it. We're the God kind of this planet.
Oh, here's one right here. The guy was hearing noises in his kitchen, right? He was hearing noises in his kitchen, and he came downstairs, and this being popped up behind the refrigerator, popped his head out, and when he looked, he didn't see it.
Was that in Australia? Where was that at?
This is in Colorado. Colorado Springs, Colorado. This happened back in 2005. This is the name of the book that he wrote. It's called The Answers. You can see that. The Answers by Steve Romanek. Here's another one right here.
Okay.
There's another one right there. That's in his backyard. He kept on hearing noises. He said, "What's that noise?" I keep on hearing some tapping and popping on my fence. What is that? He went back there and looked, and he saw this. So like I said,
great. That's a small one too.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the other one he has seen. You know what I'm saying? So
they experimented with him. Grays don't. Grays don't hang around you like that unless they experimented on you.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how many pictures of Grays this guy took. That means that they experimented on him. They will not hang around you for no reason at all and not talk to you. They don't even
Right.
talk to this guy. They just appear. They experimented on him.
Oh yeah, he said. Yeah, he says in that book. Now, this is the book that I came across. It's called Ghost Talk. And in here, the lady, it was a couple had moved into a house. This is back in the 1860s. And when they moved into the house, they went into a particular room, and they said they will always feel as though it's cold in there. Now this is during the Civil War back in the 1860s. Now, in this account here, the
Right.
woman who had died in the house was a black woman. She was a free slave, and her name was Effie. She had passed away, and she was one of the slaves who would take care of the white woman's babies. So when she passed away, the people who were conducting the medium seances, the woman had got in contact with her spirit, and she said that she had made a horrible mistake because she had left a child in the house, but her and the child ended up dying together in the house, and the woman's spirit had got attached to that house, and she didn't know how to let it go. She didn't know she was dead. So she was still there, stuck in that house. And I have two other books that talked about these black people's
See,
spirits.
that's
They still. So you know,
But
Okay.
see, you said you made a key statement. You made a key statement when you said that
Okay,
she didn't
guys,
know
can
that
y'all
she
hear
was.
me?
a little bit.
Yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do y'all see that image?
No,
That was
A little
captured
bit.
on my phone
everything
when I
froze
was
up.
in Tennessee. So we're talking about the Grays and having visitation. Yes, they do. They do visit their people. I don't know what type of hybrid this is, but
Mm-hmm.
can y'all see what I see?
Yeah, I see it. I
Now,
see the eyes. I see the mouth.
The eyes right
Yes,
here,
yes,
the
yes,
nose,
yes, yes,
and the
yes,
mouth. This is a giant
yes,
face looking right at
yes.
me. So, I'm just saying that to confirm, with the brother that's talking, about these visitations and things like that. Yeah, we're in a very thin when it comes down to the veil, very thin right now. We are talking to these beings. We are talking to ancestors too. Well, all of us, but I know I get it. So, okay, I just wanted to show y'all. Keep going.
yeah, one of the things that he said,
Oh, I gotta get that off of there. I don't know how to do it.
one of the things
There
that
you go.
one of the things that he said that's
There we
important
go.
about that apparition that refused, she didn't know she was dead. So she was still walking around vibrating at a higher frequency. This is what I'm telling you, that there right now we're in a phase where there's no death. It's just you laying your flesh down before you learn how to carry it with you through your chakras. You can speed up your vibration and become a light being. You don't have to lay your flesh. See, that's what the problem is with us. We lay our flesh down because we're ignorant. That's
Mhm.
why our ancestors told us to know thyself. If you know yourself, then you're going to know what to do in order for you to lay your flesh down. Because by all intents and purposes, when you study the science of our bodies, we're not supposed to be dying. Anytime the body regenerates itself every 7 years, every cell you have, but we are not immortals, that's letting you know that we've been tampered with. We're not supposed to die. So those people who choose to go to sleep, they have chosen to wait. Okay. But the ones that don't, they're going to move around because they're vibrating at a higher frequency. And the only, again, as I said previously, the only way we're going to see them if they make themselves become denser. and they slow their frequency down. They can only do that for so long. They can't hold it, okay? Because they move into a level where they don't have the knowledge to be there. We have to gain that knowledge now, okay? Every 7 years, we're supposed to be achieving higher levels of knowledge. Yes.
I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. Okay, so I'm listening to you, Elder. Are you okay with continuing this, or do you have something to go, someplace to go? I have another brother that wants to come in, which means that somebody has to go. Just let me know. We can do a part 2. Let it be you. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, because I do have some. Yes.
Okay.
I have something that I need to do.
Right. Okay. So when you and I talked a little bit earlier, you said, can you hear me? Sashat, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I think that's Elder's connection. I think his is lagging.
Oh, okay. Okay. So earlier, Elder, when we had talked, you said you were going to do this as an introduction. And if people wanted you to go into more depth, that you would actually prepare, some examples or a presentation and things of that nature. Would you be willing to come back and address the people that may not have gotten a chance to talk to you?
I sure would. I want to say something to Madame. I'm glad you made another comment. Okay. But do you mind if I share some information with you?
Madame?
Can she hear me?
She probably can
hear you.
Has
to type.
Yeah, she has to type. Mm-hmm.
I would like for her to look up.
Yeah, she's typing. I don't think that she's in here.
She said she's open. She said, I'm open. She said she open.
She said she's open. Right.
Can you do me a favor? Because I want to hear from you again. I'd like for you to do some research on the Apsu. Because I see you going in the right direction. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little nudge, so to speak. I mean, if you want to stay with what you know, that's fine. Okay, but I would like for her to take that word ABZU and look it up. Okay, I think that she's going to be pleasantly surprised. And then I'm gonna check out, y'all. I gotta go. Okay.
And for
all right, Elder, it's good seeing you. Thank you, Sophie, right. And I love you.
Good to see you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I love you too, Empress. You my girl.
Oh no, you
thank you very much.
We love you, Elder. Thank you.
Right. And thank you for the ladies from that came with Sister Sashat to support. You are very welcome to come and talk on a platform whenever you want to. And just spread your knowledge, because that's what we do here. We're each one is teaching one, and we're edifying each other, and that's what happened. And I think this one, I think he's kind of late.
That's right. He said the ABZU. 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 She asked the question.
You missed him. You missed him, Asar. I'm sorry.
Wait. I mean, I was in the lobby. I mean, well, you already know I came on earlier, but y'all was talking about stuff about Africa, the origins and everything. But like, I'm one of the ones that, well, as you already know, that have like the I guess the pre-existing knowledge of how that stuff even began and how it came into where it was. And I'm like, y'all, I was about to just fly off the dome with all of that shit.
That's okay. So we're going to bring him back. We're going to bring him back. And if you want to be a part of the panel, just, let me know. I'll send you the link whenever we're getting ready to do this. So he wants to actually do a presentation. I would love for you to be a part of it.
Yeah, I still work from home. So yeah, I can still do that.
All right. So everybody,
I want to say thank you for coming out. Thank you for everybody from Clubhouse that came. Thank you. Peace and love to you all. all the ladies and the gentlemen who came from Clubhouse. I appreciate you. Subscribe and like. My girl Sophie, she is on point when I tell you. She know her stuff.
Thank you, Creative Gang. Thank you for showing up too. And love you guys. Kevin, thank you very much for being here. And I am Sophie. I love you all. Bye.
Peace and love.